Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of The Infinite. Uh, this week we are joined by the entire crew. Say hello, entire crew.
Hello, entire
Hello,
crew.
entire
I like this conditioning that I'm doing. I'm going to make this longer and longer at the start of everything and see how long commitment starts to break. Some of you don't do it now. I wonder how many words I need to get in for Andrew to stop.
We're gonna be we're gonna be Pavloved at some point.
Yeah, one day the entire session is say, and then I do the whole session. It's a monologue, and
Just
then
Simon
2 hours
says.
you have to repeat it back. But yes, how's everyone doing? I don't normally ask how people are doing, but I need to vamp to get my brain better. So, Charlie, how are you?
I'm good. I had a dream last night in which the real world had fast travel. It was great.
Sounds
Do
lovely.
you
It
have
was a
to
Google Maps
do you-
update, and it was done. It was done in the way that Google does their updates, where not everybody gets it at once, and they don't do an announcement. And so I just accidentally discovered it on my phone
That's a
by like
genius
double clicking place name.
sci-fi prompt, like sci-fi short story
Um,
prompt. But something's gotta go wrong, so it just like starts to slowly turn people into sludge monsters.
Yeah, no, in my brain, even as so the first time I fast traveled, it was an accident. But like the second time I was about to do it, I was like, the power demands for this must be ridiculous. How are they sustaining this? I haven't seen any safety test data. Why am I going to go ahead and click this button? And then I click the button.
I really want a game that's meta enough to have the protagonist worry about like the long-term effects of fast travel. Like, what does this mean for people that don't have access to this?
If there is instantaneous teleportation in the Infinite, I just want it to be as laggy as whenever you go to Street View on Google Maps.
I'm going to answer that question not having any forethought about instant transmission. I think it's like a short range teleportation, like in Star Trek. I don't think you can teleport many light years. I think you can teleport at best within one sector.
Beam me up, Jackie.
Oh, that's three. Three of 5 people have angered me already. If it gets to 5 of 5, Umoak will just beat you all to death with Alejandro.
That's a measured and appropriate response.
Yep. It takes a lot to irritate me when I'm GMing. I like all of your characters and I like you all as players, so it takes a lot for most of you to irritate me. Charlie is always the easiest for it, but
I sat with that calculated Jackie on my mind for a long moment, and then I went with it. I was offended that Maddie was the first person that you were planning to kill. I was like, wait, what? This cannot be.
No.
I'm new here. That's rude.
So, you are the newest. Eventually, you can't say that you're new if you've played enough sessions. So, the camera opens on Kid's smart slab, blank, with its incoming voice message. It's not a voice call, but it is video message. And the camera kind of pans up into one of the many lights in your room, and we see it swirl for a moment as it fades into a far more sterile and white light. And the camera spins downwards, and we find it centered on a swirling cup of black liquid. And as we pull back from that, we see a slender hand holding the cup, swirling it slightly, standing in a... It would be easy to call this room extremely minimalist, high class, but it goes a little bit beyond that, where it's like perfectly... Everything is in its perfect place. This could be staged for like selling the house, but it's the way that the kitchen is kept. There's a lot of chrome and gray, and then the furniture that can be white is white. So it's a very sterile looking room. The woman holding the cup, swirling, waiting for it to cool slightly, is a little bit on the taller side, perhaps, for her race. She's in a very sleek white coat and black pants, and she's wearing very reasonable heels. She's made up perfectly. Her face looks like it has no blemishes. And as the camera focuses on her face, we see a younger Kidren, not much younger, but still younger, walking through a door out of focus in the background. Kid, you see your mother standing. She's facing roughly where the coffee machine is, which for such an opulent family, it's just a button and you can put in literally any type of coffee and it will make it perfectly. She's standing facing it. The house is quiet. There is a synthesized classical music happening in the background, as there has always been in the room that your mother has been in. But it's such background music to your lives that you barely notice it, and you know that she won't notice it. What do you do as you walk into what is essentially your living area and kitchen in that really very high-end open plan way? And the front door is directly in front of you. Just you have to cross this room.
Is there like a window?
Yes.
In this room?
So the way that the room is laid out is that you are coming from the living areas. On the right is an enormous wall. The entire wall is windows, and it's showing beautiful, beautiful green rolling verdant fields on the outside. There are trees that seem to tower almost impossibly in the distance. The sky is perfectly blue, as the sky is in this idyllic location. But you know that that's not a window. That's just a screen showing the outside that your mother wishes that you all had. But that is what passes for a window in this room.
Kid will kind of readjust the duffel bag that they have kind of slung over their shoulder, and we'll move over towards the false window and just kind of like study it for a minute.
We get
like
this
memorize it.
We get this shot of two very similar looking people. Kid, freckled, blondish hair. Your mother, the same blonde hair, the same freckles when rarely she is without makeup. But even in this moment where she is standing in the kitchen, she's put so much effort into that makeup. You're the same height. You staring out a fake window, her staring into the empty space of a coffee machine. A small harp solo playing on the synth classical in the background. A dog from elsewhere.
Kid, after kind of staring at it for a moment, thinks about just walking towards the door and not saying anything. But their mouth is already moving before they can really stop themselves. So this was important enough to be here.
She turns and the coffee cup is at her mouth as if she was mid-sip when you said that, although you are perceptive enough to know that she wasn't. But she takes a moment to finish that sip and then brings the coffee cup down and says, "Oh, dear Kidren, I just simply had no meetings this morning. But I'm glad to have been here. I might never see you again. Dangerous is the life you have chosen."
Surprising. You usually have a parade or two to go to. Or whatever you do.
She inclines her head. You both know that is true. She says, "Well, if I do not see you again, it's important to me that you know that I will remember you as a good child." She hasn't called you a child for a long time either. Like, there's a definite... You understand her well enough that she's saying when you were younger, you were good. I don't know about this version of you.
Well, since it, it's really that heartbreaking to not see me again, I'm sure you can dig up a old receipt somewhere. You did buy me, after all.
She, imperceptibly to anybody else, but you know your mum better than anybody else in the universe. Oh, well, knows her. There is a look of, like, briefly pure fury that is not that well concealed, but she has a very studied expression, and she breathes out a very soft but very long sigh and takes a long sip of the coffee, and she says, people buy a lot of things, and I would never consider you to have been an item that I purchased. And I hope you find the way to not see yourself as such.
So probably during that, Kid had kind of mentally prepared themselves to just move towards the door. Probably actually got partway to the door, but stops whenever they hear that Aneth doesn't consider them to be something that she purchased. And for the first time actually turns and looks directly at her.
She meets your eyes, the almost identical eyes staring back at you. She says, I do not have the energy nor the inclination to fight one more time.
Fine. That's your choice. I get to have mine now. I'm not something that you purchased. You never understood that, did you? No, you can't understand that. Because no matter what happens, you will never be the copy. And that is the only thing I will ever be.
She meets your eyes without like bowing her head in any form of emotion to what you're saying. And simply stands silently.
Kidren will take a step closer, actually away from the door, closer to her. Understanding this might, as Aneth had said, might be the last time that Kidren sees her. Every single thing about me, how I look, how I sound, everything that I thought I enjoyed growing up, every friend that I thought that I made, all of it is you. And do you get what that means? That means nothing is me. And maybe if you spent half the time running around and parading for this useless fucking planet, and we're actually spending that time as my mom, you might actually understand that I can't breathe.
He continues to meet your eyes and essentially weather your side of the fight. And there's a moment as you finish of like just such tension, and her smart slab, which is on the counter, starts to rumble and then starts to ripple out music, a similar but different synth classical thing. And she looks at you and she keeps the eye contact for a few moments until her eyes are drawn to the smart slab. And in that moment, the tension that was there, at least from her side, seems to largely evaporate.
Kid sees that, bites down hard to stop from continuing. And turns back towards the door, breaks eye contact. Go ahead and answer that. I wasn't here. And we'll just head for the door.
By the time that you have hit the door, she still hasn't answered it. But as she hears the door open, you hear the clicking of her heels across the couple of steps it was to the counter. And as you step out of this house that it hasn't been where you've lived your whole life. You've moved around a few times. You step out into this really thick atmosphered planet. You live on the surface, so your feet touch glass first as you step out. The sidewalks are glass so that everybody that lives in this area can see the majesty of what they have wrought by encapsulating this destroyed planet. The parts where you're not meant to walk are metal, and as you stride away from the house, the camera pulls up, floating up and up into the still thick atmosphered but slightly more verdant and nicer lower class areas of Canthi. We see the spiral that started this into the sun around Canthi and back down to Kidren's phone in the present, vibrating.
Kid will let it ring. And we'll probably let it ring almost to the point to where it's about to stop. But we'll press to accept it.
So at this range, it's a video call, but basically, I'll tell you before you can decide if you change your mind. But pressing to accept it also starts like a recording of your reaction, and then you will speak, and it will send that back. It's like committing to making it as close to a face-to-face conversation as you can through mail, basically.
Kid will just have it on like, is there like a desk in the room?
Yeah, you've got like a counter that kind of runs behind the bed where the speaker setup is, and you probably had it there because it was playing some music.
Yeah, we'll just have the smart slab laying on the counter, and we'll just have kind of more like just kind of standing over it, looking down at it as they accept it.
Kidren, I heard of some unpleasantness in the region that you are operating in. I hope that all is well. I'm sure I would have heard if you were dead. I'd hoped that I would have heard. And she looks older now. You look largely, well, a little bit different, but she looks more than the few years older than she is. And we see, in this instance, her face with freckles that match yours. And she says, anyway, I just hope you're safe. And then there's a beep, which is like, well, that's the end of the message, and you can record something back if you like.
Kid, after seeing the video of Aneth switch away, now it's just Kid's face being reported. A Kid will just kind of stare at their own face in the recording for a few seconds before standing back up straight, which takes them out of view of the camera from where they had laid it and ends the call.
I think we'll jump away from Kid to let them have that moment in privacy. The rest of you, as I've said, you all kind of got various calls at different times in this kind of 2-day period. That was the last one. It's roughly 8 days into the trip. Did anyone have anything that they would like to do over the course of this 20-day trip, either before the calls came in or if it's not so urgent after?
Yeah, but it's to talk to Kidren and I want to give Chris a break.
All right. We'll do that a little bit later.
I had mentioned this earlier, but I was going to start training with the whatever training weapons that were on board.
Sure.
That's
yeah. That generally happens. We get a little montage of Valis, and at different points, everybody on the ship that is willing to train, which I assume is certainly Lucira, certainly Alejandri, maybe Kid, and the other two can decide whether or not they'll be involved in the various weapons practice.
Nyx may decide to do so, but it largely depends on who asks her and when, because she's spending her entire time in the actual, like, probably by habit, she takes that robot that she's working on and she does most of the work on it, either in life support or engine bay. Just like whatever systems she's monitoring, she's in that room while she's working on that robot. But she won't, like, yeah.
I think Valis would go ask you that if you're like not.
Valis is delivering you food as well.
Yeah.
So like.
Yeah. So in that case,
I'll be like, hey, Nyx. I never asked. You were like a salvager, right? I know you did some computer stuff to. Well, when we left, those two guys. I don't think I need to go further than that. But do you have weapons training?
and she's like, takes her like face away from what she was doing. She's like arms deep in this robot, and she goes. You can see her like visually replaying that conversation, like her eyes are flicking back and forth as she's looking at you, trying to pick out the question that you'd ask. And then she says, after a good 20 seconds, I can not shoot myself with a pistol, and I can load one, but firing and actually aiming and hitting a target has never been something I've practiced.
Okay, well, I figure we might be getting into some more scrapes like the other one. Not that those robots were too deadly, all things considered, but I'm gonna be training, trying to get more used to assault style weapons, which wasn't my forte. But if you want to come, we'll be there.
Nyx is already like starting to look down at her work again, and she says, "What time is this? And is this no? Yeah, just what time is this?"
In like an hour, I'm probably gonna do like hour and a half each day. Well, each cycle, anyways.
I'll be there, Captain. I really hope that it is not necessary. I do have other tricks up my sleeve, as you say. The 2 on the heart. But I will be there. And then, like, as she's talking, she's already like arms deep, and Valis does not need an understanding check to realize that unless she sets an alarm or somebody comes and gets
gonna
her,
remember.
she's going to forget.
Shrug. I wonder if I should ask Comfort. Will Comfort even hurt people? As I say this to myself as I leave.
Uh,
So we get like a montage of somebody will ask Locust.
Yeah.
Does Locust want to?
Valis will ask Locust. I don't know. He's just like, hey, I don't know if you can use guns, but I'm gonna be doing some weapons training. You're welcome to join, I guess, if that's something you want to do.
We'll stay on the sidelines in case someone gets hurt. I have salves
Sure.
for that.
It shouldn't be necessary, but yeah. I'll also invite Lucira and Alejandri and Kid.
Sure.
Yep,
I think we
She'll
get
go
some.
along.
why not? We're a gun in every tentacle.
I'm not sure if he's physically capable. I think they would just immolate.
We just like Super Monkey Ball roll his orb
I get
to the armory.
That's
I
how
get
we
eight
fight.
attacks a turn as we're whack with guns.
We just get like you kick some old like metal struts that are extras. We just kind of like push them, like we're like we're curling him down the hallway.
It's just Alejandro just
Yeah.
has 3 different brushes at the front.
You-
It's just on the floor.
You all heard "Don't touch the orb" and took that as use the orb as a sporting device.
Yes.
All right. So we get some montages, and it's like intercut with Alejandro saying to Lucira, like, you can just like you won't be able to hit me because I can cut bullets, and he's holding like 3 swords. That you don't know where he picked up these swords even because he had 1 sword before, but he has 3 swords now. He's like, I can cut bullets, so you won't be able to hit me. It's not an invitation for you, Valis. And if Kid is there, also not for Kid.
I was about to ask.
Alejandro knows that you 2 might be able to hit him, but like has never seen Lucira even draw a gun.
Lucira's like kind of concerned that he's being like so just like, yeah, shoot at me. Like so nonchalant. I mean, like, are you sure? I'm
Yeah.
a decent shot, but
That's fine. But like you got to train somehow. And how about I'll run at you? I'll put the swords away, and he like puts them into sheaths, but is still holding 3 swords. He's like, I'll run at you. It'll be fine. We have a doctor, right? He points over to Locust, who is
Lucira very pointedly looks to Valis like, is he on crack or something? Like, what's this? Is this normal?
space crack.
And we'll turn back and say, okay. And we'll draw her pistol very half-heartedly and point it at Alejandre.
Sure, make an attack roll and you have disadvantage.
Okay.
The 2 fighters, if you're in the room, you can see that he's running at Lucira, but in a way that's clearly like evading attacks and making himself in the wrong position each step. It's probably not the dice rolls channel, Jack. Just 2 crits. Just get 2 20s. That would be really funny.
Oh.
Uh,
Wow.
Sure. You hit him
What up?
with your you like have trained with guns relatively extensively. You pull the pistol up and you notice that he's moving oddly, and you take a shot at him, and it hits him, and he's not even wearing as much armor as Valis or Kid would be. And where it hits, you see the bullet like Do you use a laser pistol or a bullet pistol? They're identical.
I use a laser pistol because I have
Um,
a taser that's got a little
Sure.
charges in it.
Are you using a taser?
No, I'm using my regular pistol.
Okay.
But
Yeah. So the laser, you'd normally like be used to it burning flesh a little bit. Like there's always a like singed flesh smell when you actually hit, and you see it like cut a little bit into his skin, but instead of blood, these like little blue flecks of stone kind of like burst out of it, and he looks at it and he's like, "That's pretty good. All right, maybe you don't need training. Maybe you're fine. Maybe you're better than Valis. Don't shoot at me,
Just-
Valis."
just because I'm not
Okay.
military doesn't mean I don't know how to wield a gun.
Hey, I'm not military. I don't know how to wield a gun.
Wield a weapon, therefore.
He nods.
And then she will turn and go walk down and actually look at like the range and just like pointedly say, "I'm done with this. This is stupid," and just start
There's
practicing against the range.
we get other montages of various people like trying to show Nyx how to hold a gun. Or any weapon really, with both hands not really working.
Yeah,
Kid that-
Nyx is like, Nyx has this horrifying moment where like she's holding this pistol and her arm just jerks wildly so that the pistol is pointing not downrange anymore.
Whoa!
And
Like four people like, hey.
Why don't we try something that uses two hands, and I'll hand her a shotgun. Why don't you give that a go? It's a little bit steadier.
Nyx like hefts it experimentally, and starts muttering to herself, that robot that we have down there, I wonder if I could just build one of these into the arm. Oh, how am I supposed to fire this, Captain?
You point, put it in the shoulder, real nice, and I'll like push it up against her shoulder, and then you pull on the trigger.
I could have sworn I've seen a movie where you're supposed to pull back a mechanism that
This one's
I just-
already loaded.
It's also probably an automatic shotgun.
Yeah.
she like stares at it for a long moment, and then I guess squints down range and pulls that trigger.
All right, I'm gonna need you to make me a ranged ranged attack roll, but I also need you to take your condition off it. So -4,
Yes.
thanks.
Yes, happily. Hold on.
I didn't even roll
my
kids
condition
dartboard,
on my
it's gonna be
attack, I
really
Is
sad.
there anything we can
No,
do about
condition normally doesn't affect
Oh.
it, but because Kid has no proficiency and is very injured and is doing something that like I think warrants the condition affecting it.
Yes. Oh yeah, it definitely warrants the condition affecting it. Also, the proficiency is in pistol, so I don't know if that has any.
Oh, you have proficiency in pistols? Hang on.
But
Let me
not
get my
in-
rulebook
not-
to see how this works.
not in shotguns.
Let me get my printed home rulebook because there is a thing about how this works.
Yeah. I was like, oh, we'll switch to a shotgun. That sounds great.
So, what would your bonus normally be for ranged?
Dex 2.
Okay, so you halve that to 1, and then you -4 from whatever you roll.
Got it.
So just -3.
But you don't have disadvantage. You could just crit. Yeah, it's not a bad shot. You shoot in the right direction, and nobody thinks, even for a moment, that they are in peril. But it's not great.
It's also very loud and close to her, and Nyx kind of jumps a little and then just
Yeah.
promptly shoves the gun like holding it like this so that it's crosswise, like pushes it back towards Valis. Do you have anything less abrupt?
You want a sword?
I can teach you to fight with a sword, and but I've got this too. And Alejandro from inside his coat pulls out and is spinning it as he pulls it out. And to him, it looks like a really small knife, like a pocket knife almost. He goes, "You can just have this."
Nyx just like reaches out reflexively and takes it, and then like stares at him, and then looks back down at the tool because it's a thing to examine and not talk to people with.
Can I have something of yours in exchange?
What would you like? I don't really have anything that I think you would find particularly interesting, but I could build you something or modify perhaps your armor. And she's just running.
It's not for me. Like, that knife wasn't for me either, because I have all the swords.
I'm sorry, you digitaled out.
So I don't care what it is. It's not for me, so I don't care what it is.
Oh, so you just need trade goods. Let me think about that. I have a lot of scrap.
I think it's clear that it's fine. Just keep the knife. I don't want to do this. This feels bad.
Nyx is just like staring at the knife. She goes, I'm not particularly strong, but I do like tools that can be held in the hand. I'll just go examine this for a few minutes while you do the range things, Captain. And she just like goes and finds like Locust to sit down next to because
As you rock it away, I'll say, oh, the thing about knives that most people don't realize is that it's not like stab, pull out. It's like stab, 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 stab. That's the most effective way.
That sounds like it's...
I don't think that's always true, but it is probably true for you.
Yeah.
Like, go for volume over quality.
Kid is just in the corner blasting music but playing darts this entire time and just sees Valis pantomiming stabbing something to death just in the corner.
It's also like definitely stabbing someone in the stomach 50 times that is the pantomime.
Yeah.
But we run through this long montage of different scenes of Kid who you are getting better at ranged weapons by playing darts. Like, it is a good training thing because for you it's just like getting the flight perfectly because you're normally operating over such a long distance that like bullet drop matters. Everybody else kind of gets some experience with stuff. The fighters are the ones that really benefit from weapon training.
Right. Yeah, I'm mostly, like I said, I'm mostly focusing on trying to get rifle proficiency because, I mean, I'm not terrible. I think I'm still as good with rifles as Lucira is with her proficient weapons, but I want to get that up to like my full ability.
Sure. Yeah, so you're working on it pretty hard. It's like every day you're doing like a lot of work towards that. Everybody else is kind of using it almost as social learn to murder time.
Lucira definitely is taking it in that way.
I'm also trying to clock like I've already somewhere I have a note that says Nyx, no guns.
Make a wisdom understanding roll. Okay. Or I will let you make a leadership roll.
You'll let me make. Oh wow.
Yeah, it will change the way in which you get the information, and one will make you feel more like a leader because of the nature of the skill.
Sure. It's just a difference of 1. Now that I've taken 1 point of leadership. 16.
And you found like you're looking instead at like, well, how good is this person? Your understanding would have told you, well, how much do I have to worry about this person in a fight? But your leadership lets you worry about like, well, what is this person going to do in a fight as a collective? Kid and Alejandri are very good at their weapons. They have their specialties. They're good at them. Locust is there in the room, and that might be all you can ever hope for, combat-wise, in terms of doing damage to people from Locust. Nyx might be worse than Locust, because if they had a gun, that might be worse. And Lucira seems like somebody that has trained in an Imperial setting, but does not focus on it.
I think if Lucira wants to talk to Nyx first, but I did want to go and talk to Locust at some point. All
right, we'll do Lucira, Kid, and then Valis, Locust. And then it will be last call for things in this 20-day period.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
outside of the training time and mealtime, I'll probably at some point go and try to find. Since Kidren seems to hang out in their room a lot, I'll probably go and try to find them there. So I'll go and knock loudly on the door. Kidren, can we talk?
Is there like a die I can roll for like if Kidren is like actually able to hear right now?
Yeah, I'll let you make a perception roll. It's the curse of being good at perception.
Even if you don't want to hear, you might hear.
Yeah. You can always pretend you can't hear, but it skipped away from the channel. No, it's pretty loud, and you're like, it's probably around that time of day that you assume everybody else is doing their actual ship tasks. So you're like so far into your music and like thinking about that stuff that you just don't hear it.
Cyril will wait 30 seconds. Knock again, louder. Also send him a ping on Smart Slab.
Well, you definitely
says,
don't hear
"Hey."
the thing on your smart slab because it's muted. Make me a
I will make
kinematics
it an
roll
alert.
to roll loudly enough. Make me a kinematics roll.
Oh no,
You're like trying to find the
kinematics
point on the door that like
-1.
will work.
It's a -1 for me. Oops, I can't. I know how to do things.
This is
5.
the payback for shooting Alejandro in the shoulder. You got your 2 good rolls out there. Yeah, you knock and it's slightly louder, but internally it is not louder, and you still don't hear anything. Lucira, you also know you could ask Teresa where anyone is.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting we have an AI on the ship.
Yeah.
Teresa,
Yes.
is Kidren in their room?
I feel it would be a breach of anyone's privacy to tell you if they were in their room. However, I can tell you that power is being used in 3 of the rooms, including the one closest to you.
Technically courteous, the best kind of courteous.
She'll just kind of like mentally go through like logically, yes, that is probably better. Like glad to have a courteous AI as part of the ship, but also like, all right, thank you. And she will kind of not glare, but look very like hard at Kidren's door, and then we'll walk away.
Okay.
I mean, eventually, Kid will come out of their room. They don't just live there. If you want,
I know,
to have the
but at that
conversation.
moment in time, is giving up on it, and we'll try to
Maybe
ask you about it later when we see each other in a bigger setting.
maybe 5 minutes later, Kid, your music softens, not very much, but enough that you notice the shift, and a voice comes over the speakers in your room that says, I am not a secretary. However, you did have a visitor 5 or so minutes ago.
Kid will like turn it down completely and kind of like sit up from where they were laying on their like cot. Well, first, who and are you getting sassy?
For privacy reasons, I cannot tell you who the visitor was. However, they were a commanding officer of the ship, and the captain is elsewhere.
The kid
And
opens up their smart slab.
I
and
remain the same as I
looks-
was before.
just looks at their muted channels to see if there's anything new.
You just have a ping from Lucira. It's like, are you in your room? I guess.
Hey, can we talk? Are you in your room?
So
7 minutes ago.
yeah, like 7 minutes later, Lucira, you just get a message from Kid, one of the rare ones, and it's just the letter Y.
Lucira will send back to you because she's now moved elsewhere in the ship. So I would like to chat about the discussion on the bridge.
front.
You can join me on the bridge if you want. It's just me.
There it is. Kid will hard consider it.
There will also be
May-
another message 30 seconds later saying, "You are not in trouble. I just want to make sure you're doing okay."
Kid will purposely wait to see how long it'll take if Lucira will send another message, but will eventually go to the bridge.
She will not send another message until you get there. She figures that last one was like, that's veering into like too much being a mom territory. So she's like, I'm not gonna do that again.
Yeah, you walk into the bridge. Lucira, by this time you're probably going over the like Astra and Nav numbers for the day to make sure that you're still on track and not hurtling somewhere else in space.
Yeah.
They are fine.
Good.
You're the only two on the bridge, except for the omnipresent Teresa, who may or may not listen in on all of your conversations.
I'll unpack that later.
She asked everyone when they took their room if they want privacy, by the way. The same as I think she asked Kid.
Kid will just walk in and we'll just kind of like plop down to the same seat they sat in last time.
Hey, listen, I know the last time we were all on the bridge, there was a not the greatest or most comforting conversation, it seemed to you, about being on this ship and having to take Umoak to Dallas Prime. But I want to be clear that both Valis and I are doing this because we have no other options at the moment. It's not because we are immoral people. It's because this is the ship that we have, and this is the ship you have. And I want to make that clear so that everyone can be on the same page and we can run this ship appropriately. But if you have any concerns, I would love to hear them.
So you called me here to... Is that it?
I mean, you seemed very upset, so yeah. Unless that was a misreading of your body language and your tone of voice, but
So sure, I'll answer if you answer something for me real quick.
sure.
Okay. Regardless of if I'm comfortable or not, does that change anything?
No, I just want to know so we can all be aware of everyone's needs and feelings about where we're at currently. I like to know my crew and know that even if there are some internal discrepancies among people, that we can all get along and not be plotting to kill each other while we're on this ship. That's my primary goal.
Okay, well, first off, not your crew. The squid has that.
Yeah. Their crew.
But, since I guess this is the ship mandated therapy session, I guess. At least I got a comfy chair. I mean, yeah, it bothers me that we don't really have a choice. Us and the crew. You know, bothers me that something larger and stronger than us essentially put a collar on our neck and said fetch, and we listened to it. That's cool. I mean, yeah, the leash is long, but it's still there. Oh, and on top of that, the thing that did that is also some intergalactic garbage disposal squid god. Oh, but don't worry, don't worry, guys. I'm not like that anymore. Pinky promise. Yeah, that bothers me.
I mean, it bothers me too. I've never heard of anything like this, but also know that if we hadn't gotten on the ship, we would all be dead on the heart. So I'm doing my best to see what little positive I can from this and do also what I can to ensure we all survive and get out of this squid creature's uh tight grip, even whatever they say about you can take your time getting to Dallas Prime. I don't believe that either, but I also know that we don't have the funds to get a ship of our own like this. So I'm listening and keeping my ear to the ground in hopes of finding some ways we can either get out of this entirely, or if not entirely, then get out of it sooner.
Yeah, that's all fine. But I think you did miss the point of the last time I spoke up. So I'll go ahead and clear that real quick. I'll do that for you. I have been around enough people, things, whatever you want to say, that has reminded me of that thing. It is a thing. The insatiable thing. The thing about gods, if that is, what it is that they are over something in its entirety. It's not just a half-assed thing. And he's insatiable. Oh, sorry, I slipped. It. Ambition is a hunger. And a god doesn't forget what it's over. It doesn't grow past what its domain is. But the main thing that I wanted everyone to understand, because sure, since we seem to be oversharing, I really don't like, let's call it fake. Every single one of us had a choice when we decided to keep going along on this ship. Yeah, the choice was pretty final and pretty shit, but it was a choice. But we decided to keep going anyway. And we could say that we were ignorant about everything that entailed, but we can't really say that in good faith anymore. So if we're going to keep going along with this, well, the captain, knowing full well what it is, can we just drop the pretense that we're doing that we're moral, that we're actually, we're good guys, that doesn't really matter right now?
Sure. It's suppose we aren't there's no good or bad at this moment, and it's just kind of we're just existing, so we should probably make that clear. Thank you, Kidren, for this chat. I do appreciate everything you've said, and I'll take that deeper into consideration.
Kid will nod at that, and if there's any type of handhold over their chair, we'll kind of use that to pull themselves back up. All right, cool. Good talk. And well, now finally nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, kid.
Leave.
Alice,
Great.
you're going to look for Locust?
Yes. Hey, Locust. I was
I
waiting for you to
assume
say
you're in
something, but
the xenobotany lab.
yeah, okay.
Let me. I have this really this fun little idea bouncing around in my brain that Locust has somehow coerced, if they're able to, Alejandre into like being a test subject for some of their steps.
Yep.
Perfect.
I think you know with his xenobotany that it will be a slightly more flawed test than you would like, given his being, but you can definitely do that. It will give you preliminary results.
Yes. So when you find Locust, they're also with Alejandro right now.
Alejandro waves with two hands, while the third hand is like getting an injection or something.
Okay. So this is what I see is like into the room, door sliding open. Hey, am I interrupting?
Make a perception check before Locust responds.
Yeah. 23.
You notice in two spots in particular, his hand is outstretched as Locust is either injecting something or applying something to the surface of his skin. And on his left hand, you notice the crystallization of like his two of his knuckles, where the skin has like turned into blue crystal, and he's got his shirt off because you've been like applying different spots to see his reactions to different things. And where Lucira shot him, there's now like a rivet, or not rivet, but like a little indentation from the laser that has like crystallized. And as he waves at you, you hear a slight crunching as he raises like that shoulder to wave.
I guess I'm still waiting for Locust to say something.
Yes, now is a perfectly reasonable time. We're all friends, I think.
Sure. I mean, I guess you're doing stuff. I actually wanted to ask you about those stems. What are they, and what do they do? Since you jabbed me with one.
Unfortunately, the one that I did jab with, to use your language, is one that I'm still still in development, just a little bit.
Okay.
What I have discovered over the course of like my limited travels is that in a lot of more rural communities, you have to play around with what you have. You don't have easy access to doctors and medications. So that's what I do, is I play around with what I have. And Locust will start like pulling down, like they have jars of like they've deconstructed these tea packets and have like dumped all of the loose leaf tea into like different like sections of jars. They've got like a little like one of their little planter boxes has like garlic looking bulbs sprouting out of it. You see the terrarium that they've set up also like is like in a corner under like a little bit of blankets with like their little bundle that's become like their space. And it's got all of the grubs, but has been like developed into this composting pile where they're trying to like keep up like alive this like Venus flytrap looking thing that they found like elsewhere in the xenobotany lab. So this is what we have, and the one that I shot into you, it's supposed to make you feel a little more energetic and make the hits hurt a little less. But I've not got the ratios right.
Okay. Do you have more stuff like that? Like that can do other things?
A couple. I've got 2 that I know work very well. That will do some level of like injury management, will make you feel better. Something that will help with poisoning, as like an antidote to different
Wow.
illnesses. I am currently wanting to work on some stems to help with additional flame resistance for our friend Kid.
Sensible.
Because they seem like the type to blow themselves up again. I can't quite figure that out, but if I could make that hurt, that would be very nice.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to know. I'm trying to get a feel for everyone's capabilities. So thanks for sharing.
You both noticed that Alejandri had his hand up for like 10 seconds.
Yes.
This one burns, and he points to his chest, and like it started to just blister the skin where you've placed that. But as the blister like accelerates and pops, and it pops to just reveal like a crystalline underneath.
Locust will they have a bit like a neckerchief that they wear around their neck that they like will pull off and use to start like wiping like this off as well.
Quick question: am I going to start sprouting crystals?
No, this is not something that is my doing. Well, some of it is sort of incidentally my doing. This is I'll let Alejandri explain if that's okay with you.
Yeah, he was kind of wondering how much of the therapy that you'd given him you were just going to spout off to Valis. But he says, "Oh no, this is a me thing. Like,
okay.
You know,
there's like a Rethan thing.
Aliens, yeah, Rethans.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that's fine.
Sure, you should get used to it if I'm going to travel with you much longer."
Sure. I just wanted to make sure there's no lingering effects, right? I feel normal again. So I touch my skin.
Well, let me know if that changes, and I will note that down. I have a chart for you. It's not very well filled out. You don't physicals.
I'll try to start coming more often. I'm pretty healthy though, as far as I know.
As far as you know, yes. Alejandri, if you need a break, I know that this is probably like you can go. Thank you again for your help, and if you feel like coming by and chatting, I can make tea again.
He just nods and like hops off the like bed that he was sitting on, and like just gives another wave to Valis and shrugs into his shirt and just heads off in another direction.
Unless Locust had something else to say, I'll head off with him.
Locust, before you heads off, will be, if you don't mind, would you like to try the one that I hit you with on our first day of meeting again?
Sure, why not?
Make a xenobiology roll for the new batch that you have. You're getting very close with this one. Like
120 plus
a lot.
Yeah.
That's clatters. Oh. Still 14.
Yeah, roll me a d20 on the side effects table that I don't have open, so you'll just have to tell me what it is.
Do you want a minor one, I'm assuming, right?
Oh, it's a minor one. It's a minor one. It's not this doesn't do major ones.
I'm gonna sprout 2 more arms and be like, "Hey, look, Alejandri, I'll go one up on you."
Well, that's rude.
You have a disadvantage on fortitude skill check. Well, this is a turn-based one.
Yeah,
so,
you kind of feel like a moment of extreme nausea.
Ugh.
But then that passes after a few seconds, and then you feel fine. you do feel like the same tightening of your skin as you did that first time, where it like feels like you have been slightly reinforced. And if you push against your fingertips, they don't give as much.
Less squishy.
Yes, that's the idea. You can go if you would like. I do have one last favor to ask, if you'd be amenable.
Sure. I'll catch up later.
Sure, he's like halfway out the door, and you see his head duck back, and he's like, "Okay." Like, for a reason? Do I have to like expect you?
No. I just meant like, we could chat.
Okay.
I have noticed that you really enjoy cooking. I've been working on building up some of the vegetable patches, but I was wondering if I could join you to help make dinner
Sure.
some night.
Do you not know how to cook?
Rudimentarily, I do. Again, I spent a lot of time on farms, but Mimas tend not to trust robots with their kitchen knives and their pots of potatoes.
Right. Sure. Yeah, we could do that. I'll make. What's your favorite food?
Oh, what is my favorite food today? I like. Locust thinks about this for a moment, like running through all of the different like family meals that they've had the opportunity to eat. I enjoy a good cobbler here and there. Yes, I'll say cobbler today. A nice peach cobbler, because that is what Kristen is craving right now.
Cobbler. Oh, okay. That's
Unfortunately,
a little advanced.
for Valak, baking and cooking are different skills.
Ah, dang it.
Baking is for Lucira is baking.
Yeah, Lucira has baking skills.
Which
No,
is
you
just
can,
me as a
you can
person.
approximate some of the things.
Okay.
But yeah, you're trying to basically teach Conifer some basic cooking stuff? Locust? Pardon me.
Yeah.
Sure.
We'll make a cobbler, and this is my recipe for a thrice-baked potato.
Oh, that sounds excellent. Very exciting.
Roll me a d20 plus your intelligence, because this is a skill that you don't have. Like a
This is just +2.
skill. Yep. And then tell me what it is, so I don't have to
8.
change channels. The problem with Valis is that he does a lot of things intuitively to him, and he hasn't quite learned leadership enough that he can like start developing that. So you make quite a good peach cobbler, given the fact that you don't have peaches. Like, you make a different fruit
Cobbler's
cobbler.
not easy, man. That's a hard thing
Yeah,
to make.
it's a hard thing to make, so you're focusing more on the finished product being edible. And make me an understanding roll. And I'm going to set the DC at something based on the 8.
And so just clarifying, Locust will happily like try to learn how to cook, but I wanted to set this up more as an opportunity for Locust and Valis to have interactions in the future.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's another 8.
Sorry, that was meant to be Locust rolling.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
Yeah, it's how well Locust kind of takes in what you're saying. But you understand that Locust might be more just trying to find reasons to talk to you.
Okay.
I also love that you are doing a triple baked potato, like not just 2, which is standard, but another time.
Space potatoes needed.
18.
So what's your base with reliable?
That would be, I think I would have rolled a 19 using the reliable. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically the same. But you noticed that Valis is you noticed that Valis really enjoys cooking, and is not a fantastic teacher. Even though you didn't go there for that, he's kind of trying, but he's more focused on like the thing that he's enjoying in this moment.
Now,
Locust
the key to all cooking is excessive attention to detail. You cannot pay attention to the food too much.
Locust nods and goes, yes, this reminds me exactly of cooking with farmer Leanna and her wife. Beautiful, and Locust will continue giving like validation, maybe where it's not warranted.
All right. So we cut away from that scene. Does anyone else have any last call for anything to do in this 20-day period before you arrive in sector 586, 568?
568.
It feels excessive, but I do want Nyx to at least go visit Alejandri like 3 days after she receives that knife. And she's just like holding it back and forth, and when she walks in, she's not quite aware that like she is still like holding it out. It's unsheathed, and she just comes up to wherever Alejandri is, rather
Yeah,
abruptly.
he's in his room though. So like,
Okay, yeah. So, is his room locked? Like,
no.
okay, yeah. Then I think that it doesn't even occur to Nyx to knock. She will just stroll right in.
Or just roll something real quick. How much does you get stabbed?
Yeah, right. That's what
No,
I'm.
you walk in and he's like in the downstairs area. So like I think you walk in at the top because that's where most people go into their rooms, but you kind of notice that he's downstairs and he's hunched over a table and he seems to be writing. But he doesn't notice you come in. And you don't really potentially notice that he didn't notice, but
Yeah. So Nyx probably just comes right up to his desk and is like staring more at his writing than actually like looking at his face or anything, and just turning the knife back and forth, and just abruptly starts kind of like almost she was in the middle of a conversation. This is it's a very nice knife that you gave me. Why did you give it to me?
oh my god. What? Hello?
Oh, hello.
He turns and you're like right there, and you see under the table that his hand, that one of his arms is holding a sword, but he just full didn't notice you till you were at that moment. He says, "What? What? Nyx? Yes. What?" He turns over with one of his hands the piece of paper that he was writing on.
It's a very nice knife that you gave me. Why did you give it to me? It doesn't seem very well. Why did you give it to me?
I thought you would be more of a liability if Valis kept trying to push ranged weapons onto you. You can only hurt someone next to you with that. And then he kind of moves his chair a little bit further away from you, brandishing the knife.
At that point, Nyx kind of like tucks it away, and says, "Oh, that's very pragmatic of you, Alejandri." And she
Some
just
people
kind
would
of,
say smart.
I could have said that. Yes, that's a word I could have used, but I chose pragmatic. You were part of the Red Line.
Yep.
Do you know the people that I killed? The two bandits, the people on the heart. You were there. Did you know them?
Gonna roll an understanding check real quick. D20 understanding. I'll give him the benefit of it being charisma. He's actually more charismatic than this sheet is. So that why do these never work? Weird. He kind of looks at you and he says, "Yeah. What do you mean, those guys? They weren't both guys. Like, one of them was like, there are women in the bandits. It's like an equal opportunity crime organization."
Nyx just nods. Is there any like flat surface, or is there just the bed and the chair that he's using?
No, he's downstairs, so there's like a table that he was writing at that has another chair.
Nyx just pulls out the chair, swings it around so that it is facing backwards, and sits down on it and leans her chin against the back of the chair.
You're pretty smart, right?
It depends on the domain that you're discussing.
If
Very
someone
limited.
owed me money and then someone kills them, does that debt transfer to the person that killed them?
That is not the kind of smart that I am. I am sorry.
Alright.
And she's like staring, like she's just kind of still staring just past him, like above his head. And then her gaze like switches, like kind of casts over his eyes. Like there's a moment where it's almost eye contact. And then she's just kind of staring at his sternum, chest area.
Sure, he is wearing a shirt at this point. Like, he normally wears clothes.
Are you saying that there was a debt that you owed to the people that I killed?
No, I didn't owe them money. But I'm
They
asking
owed
if
you
one
money?
of them owed me money, would you feel morally obligated to pay me that money since it's money that I will then never get back?
I don't think I've ever had this moral obligation before. I would have to think about it. I killed them. And you can tell, like, it doesn't take an understanding check to realize that there's more that she's trying to figure out how to say, but she's just, like, stuck on that fact.
I mean, they killed people. They didn't feel bad about it.
Well, yes, that's why I killed them. Because last time that I ran into your crew, it was, my friend Chips. Chips has been very good to me, see? And, they shot Chips. Maybe not those people in particular, but people associated with that crew. So I did kill them, and I did not think about it. And then you gave me this knife.
Sure. So you're not going to kill me. I didn't try and kill your friend. I haven't killed that many people.
Well, no, obviously I'm not going to try to kill you. You also saved my life. But if you had been on the other side of that thing, I might have killed you too. And then we wouldn't be allies now.
So, I've been a lot of things, right? I was a bandit most recently, but I've been a mercenary. Sometimes you're on the wrong side of a losing battle and you die. I have been fortunate that I have not been on the wrong side of that losing battle. But, there's always a side that doesn't come out well. Do you like sport?
Yes.
It helps to think of it like sport. One side always loses.
Yes, but in sport you don't exactly lose your life. It's not permanent. You just, I mean, some people really act like it is. Back at the academy, they would just, the arguments were terrible.
Nix, have you heard of Blood Disc? Blood Disc, you die. Like, if you lose and you're out, like, they normally do tournaments, but once you're eliminated from the tournament, they kill you. We should watch Blood Disc. Blood Disc is great.
Nick starts to speak, and then Alejandra continues to explain how great this game is, and just stops once more. Why would somebody choose to play that game? That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Why would you choose to play a game that if you lose, you die? Like, surely you're going to lose eventually, right?
Well, you think about it like this. If you play 28 games in a season, and only, like, the worst two teams, like, drop out of your league, then not a lot of people die, and you get paid a lot because you get extra hazard pay. Like, I'm not saying that I have been a Blood Disc player before, but I understand the motivation if you needed a lot of money to be a Blood Disc player. Also, you get famous. Well, in the sphere of people that like Blood Disc.
Oh.
think about it this way. He's run out of things that he knows about to try and like get you to understand a concept, and he's trying to not go back to murder. It's like sometimes you're a mercenary, and like if you're a mercenary, it's because you need money. Like if you didn't need money, you wouldn't be killing people for a living. So you need money. Mercenarying is a quick way to get money. What if you needed 1,000,000 credits to save your wife? And one of the quickest ways to get it would be to play Blood Disc.
I would be very bad at Blood Disc, though. I'm not particularly strong. I'm just assuming that this is a strength game. It sounds like it's one of those games that is violent and strength-based.
A little bit. But you
But
understand.
I would do something very stupid and very risky if it had even a remote chance of saving my wife. Not that I have a wife, I'm not married. But if I had a wife, I would, in fact, I do understand your point. But that doesn't, well, so are you saying that those people that I killed were just trying to save their wives?
No. Not all bandits are good. Some bandits are bad. Some are very bad. Bujan's pretty terrible. I'm great.
Bujan was the one with the, and she just like gestures.
The leader.
The bone. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
she can do bone things. I don't really get it.
Yeah, she was awful. She is a truly terrible person. Also, I don't like the former, the computer hacker that you worked with. They're not very polite. But also, I kind of wish I could learn some of their tricks. I just wanted to thank you for the knife and work something out. But I'm sorry for bothering you. If you would like, I would. You don't seem to wear very much armor. And she's like staring at his chest again. Unless there's armor that I haven't seen, is there something that I could try to work on for you?
He like effortlessly lifts up his trench coat and then like wraps the crystal the other way because it's his left hand. Wraps the crystal that is on his knuckle on it, and it like makes a metal banging sound. He says, but if you want to try and make my armor better, apparently I can get hit by non-military people now. So maybe I do need to improve.
That was what I was thinking about. I would just want to examine it for a few minutes and take measurements and maybe know about your flexibility, and then I can see what I can do. I'm not making any guarantees, but it might take a very long time, and I have only certain tools at my disposal. But all that aside, I will try.
Sure. He like shrugs out of it and says, you can use the table if you like, and like offers to hand it to you.
Nick's like,
and then remembers you holding the shotgun and the recoil and like puts it on the table for you because it's quite heavy.
Yeah. Nyx just at that point stops engaging him entirely, pulls out her slab, and just like starts taking notes, and pulling out, little measurement tools and a little optical tool to like measure the density of things, etc.
Sure. How long roughly do you think it takes you to go through this diagnostics of his trench coat light armor?
She definitely takes almost an hour at least, just in his face.
About 12 minutes into it, he's like gone back to writing, and you saw before, but he's writing like an inventory of like items, and they are scattered around his room. And he says, "Oh, for reciprocity, I don't remember how to say that word anymore. Because I like the give and take thing. I also don't have a wife."
Do you have any sort of spouse?
No. Nobody's taken any of my hands in marriage.
Nick like lets out this like really startled guffaw, and it's a very awkward sounding noise as she's got like a tool like clamped between her teeth, and she goes, Probably for the best, considering we are on and her stutter has gone away as she's staring at this material and not him. As we are on something of what seems an interminable journey, and may not return to our loved ones anytime soon.
Sure. Yeah, I guess. Also, I was a bandit, so I would not have been near my partner. Anyway, he goes back to writing his list, and we fade out on that scene. You can make an applied engineering check, but yes, you can improve the condition of that armor. You can probably do it with the scrap you have. And he will tell you off screen some stuff about flexibility and things of what he needs in the armor. But 20 days pass. Not uneventfully, as there are these little moments happening, crisscrossing between the six of you, occasionally Teresa on the ship. And Lucira, it's like, how early in the cycle does Lucira
Do I get up?
Yeah.
6 a.m.
All right. It's like maybe
She's that person.
maybe just after that, and you get you're still in your room, and Teresa comes over the intercom and says, "Lucira, we have arrived in Sector 568. I am pinging to all of you a sector map, and
Thank you,
I will
Teresa.
put that into star maps for you."
It is also on the screen.
Yeah, Andrew has had access to this for quite some time. Did I just put that as a
Literally
one thing?
like 2 hours.
Yeah. But you all get at the same time this ping of this star map. This is an Imperial star map, so it knows the things that the Empire knows.
Cool.
But you are in Sector 568 now. Should I call people to decide what to do next?
Probably wouldn't hurt. I know it's gonna be early for some of them, but I'll make my way to the kitchen and get some breakfast out. Everyone can meet there.
Okay. And
Thank you, Teresa.
you don't get a response, as you never have for thanking Teresa, because it's not part of her protocol to keep responding. But you
I
are
do it
all
anyway.
called together, and it's probably over breakfast that you have the next little discussion. And we're going to take a bit of an early break this time. No, you don't want an early break? Yeah, we'll take we're going to do 17 minutes, so we come back at 10:02, because that's so much easier than saying 38 past. And in that time, I will write the rules of Blood Disc for the clamoring masses.
Well, clearly there's blood in a disc, just like I said in the chat.
Actually, very importantly, it's a very heavily regulated, and there's a very low injury amount, because the executions at the end of the season are one of the biggest
Parts of the event.
I just love
safe to play.
I just love the imagery of an all-out, just no holds barred ultimate frisbee game. I mean, like the chief game of the galaxy.
All right, we will be back in about 15 minutes. Welcome back to the second half and a small percentage of episode 5 of The Infinite. This week is entitled Hollow Tune, which I think makes a little bit more sense now than if I'd announced at the start of the session why a session was called that. But we find all of you around the breakfast table. Valis, you've made something nice. I'm not going to make you make a cooking roll. You've done a good job.
Excellent.
The star map is like holographically projected up onto the ceiling. You don't have like just a strip that comes out of this table, but they do have a projector that like can put up on the ceiling where you can all look at the sector star map. So for those,
I'm just curious. So we have the star map. Do we have more information about the named planets at all?
I'm going to get you to all roll an outer ring check.
I'm not that good at that.
These aren't my good.
You all know that an Imperial outpost is typically an outpost run by the Empire.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make you
hope we all
roll
know
to know what that means.
Yeah.
I think Nyx doesn't make this roll because she is like laying against the table, kind of like listlessly eating a bite of food at now and then, half asleep.
Okay, sure. I'll roll for Alejandro for you. I will
Get to Locust with that one.
While
I'll actually add
Alejandro
his,
while Alejandro is rolling, Valis, what did you make for breakfast?
Yeah.
Well, since we were baking yesterday, sitting in front of you are they're probably not blueberries, but there's some kind of berry scone.
Sure. They are bright, vibrant, like pink. And the first batch that you did, like it had bled and they kind of looked like weird pink things that didn't look great and didn't taste great. But you like macerated them first and that stops them bleeding their juices out. They're pretty good, unless you don't like fruit. They're not alive either. So those of you that prefer that.
Yeah.
All of you look at the map and you're like, well, that's an Imperial outpost and that's a planet, and then there's two like areas that are unmapped. That's what we learned, except for Lucira, who's like, okay, so you know that Imperial Outpost 281 is one of the furthest out Imperial outposts. There's another one that's a little bit south of you on the star map. Not that cardinal directions really make sense, but a little bit further out. You also know that because of your general background that the numbering system of Imperial outposts also goes with every ship. So every ship that's commissioned is numbered, and every outpost that's commissioned is numbered. The ships will gain a new name. So the Tempesta was like Imperial Ship 130 or something like that, and then it became the Tempesta. The Imperial outposts don't get new names because it makes it easier for people to know what they are. You've also heard a little bit about Gilnaus, which is a uncivilized planet, but it has 2 civilized moons. You don't know much more about it than that, but both moons are have the equivalent of like a mid starport, but what's really just a large hangar. And the Imperial outpost is on a moon that the planet was destroyed long ago. So that moon is kind of like locking into the orbit of the sun, but it doesn't move that much and it moves very slowly.
Okay. I will essentially rehash that to the group and say, Gilnaus isn't, there's nothing there, but the outpost should be good if we want to refuel and kind of get more about, news feeds and see what's actually been happening in Imperial space proper in the time that we've been gone.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
What do you mean by not much on Gilnaus?
Not much. I mean, is not. There's no civilizations on it. It's a planet, but no one's living on it. At least
Well,
not no Imperial
there's
races.
a lot there.
There could be a lot there. But there's just the two moons, Venus 1 and 2, have essentially, people say they live there, but it's just a port, really. There's no sprawling cities. It's just kind of a one small area on each moon
For
Uh,
people.
for people.
Kid will kind of raise like a hand, but speak before anyone actually calls on them. So if Captain down there, if he can just get fuel from whatever we toss at him, wouldn't it be better to go to an uncivilized and unpopulated planet and just take what's free?
Well, we have fuel. I think the say problem, but it's an issue of mass and effort. I think we'd have to really, if we were feeding him just dirt, I think it would take a lot, like tons, literal tons, which we could dig up. It would just take a long time.
And it would be disruptive.
Ideally, I'd like to go to the outpost so we can possibly purchase some vac suits so we can safely, go outside of the ship if we need to. Since right now we cannot do that.
We got one.
You will know with your 21 that the outposts in both moons will have an artificial atmosphere, so you don't need a vac suit. And the atmosphere of Gilness is fine for most races.
I mean for like not being on a planet. In
yes.
mid-space.
Yeah, if you need to fix the ship from the outside.
If you need to fix the ship, yeah.
Nick's just kind of nods and eats another bite of scone and stares at y'all.
I also, I mean, regardless of if we want to go to Gilnass, I'd like to find work. And the moons or the outpost seem like a better fit. And I will side with Lucira on the outpost between those options.
Kid, what do you think?
I mean, isn't the outpost closer?
Yeah, you blinked into like kind of the mid-range of this, so the outpost is slightly closer, but not that much.
I think I rolled like a 13. Is that enough to know if the ports... Actually, could even know about the ports, aside from whenever Lucira mentioned them?
Yeah, you know what Lucira told you, which is there are small, barely, like, habited areas that are mainly just ports.
Kid will kind of look over to Lucira. Are the ports, are they Empire affiliated?
Lucira, you know that they're not.
They are not. That's why there's also an Imperial outpost here. They're independent ports.
We are in free
Outpost.
space, after all.
Yeah.
Outpost is good, but under the table usually pays better.
That's true.
Maybe we look at both, see what our options are from both.
Are there any kind of like ads I could look up? Because there are three competing spaceports. Like, do they have any kind of like HoloNet stuff or something?
Yeah, you can access the system-wide like messaging board basically. That's like where we would post job type stuff. And there's a couple of like very low-paying menial tasks everywhere. Like there's some places that, like, we need someone to clean our house. We need someone to clean our ship. Pays like 40 credits a day.
Filter 1,000 plus credits an hour.
The only job that pays you anything like remotely close to what you're actually interested in, there are two equally flashy ads. One of them is a company called Intelligent Growth that is basically offering you basically they're like, this is an expression of interest, you have to come in and meet us, and we're offering you credits in exchange for you going down and getting us some material that we need from the surface of Gilnas. And an exact so that's very like, it's got a lot of blue tones to it and a lot of gray, which are the colors of the company, it seems. There's another ad that is offering you an amount of credits to go down to the surface of Gilnas and recover some materials for them from a company called Black Sky Botanicals. And they would they list the Avinis 1 is the place to go for the Intelligent Growth job, and Avinis 2 is the place to go for the Black Sky Botanicals.
What's the color scheme on Black Sky?
Black.
Okay, black.
Is anybody else looking at these?
I'd probably just be looking at them with Phallus.
Lucira, you like look over it and you notice in the fine print that the first one is a Relixis Instruments subsidiary and the second one is a Void Art subsidiary. Because you're all about knowing who the actual parent companies are.
What was the second one, sorry?
Void Art Collective is
Void
the
Art Collective, thank you.
top one. There's also for, I think, Kid and Lucira, can you both roll me bureaucracy? Discord is so slow today.
Good.
Jeez,
Okay.
28? Oh my god.
Both of you find it odd, the lack of high-paying jobs from this Imperial outpost. Most Imperial outposts will at least offer like long-distance shipping stuff for ships coming through, and this one offers none of that.
It's weird that these are the only jobs. Typically, in a sector this far out, they'd at least something would need to be getting shipped somewhere in further. Does that strike anybody else as odd?
Can we get in contact with them?
Yeah, you can just try and call any of the places. There's a slight delay. It's like the equivalent of like bad internet
Right, it's
across
like
the globe.
Second or so delay, so it's like gotta wait a second.
Oh, and also you don't know what their response is going to be to some random ship being like, "Hello." But yeah, you can try to contact anyone.
Should we ask for someone in particular?
In this case, I think we can just say we're asking in regards to their advertisement about the job. That should be enough.
Well, I think Kid wanted to call the Imperial station, right?
Yeah, just whoever is in charge of that.
Yeah.
Say
Oh,
that since we're
yes.
already,
Just to see what's up.
Why don't we do that then?
Okay.
just word it like since we're already out here.
You all move to the bridge.
Yeah. Lucira, send out a hail.
Alejandro carries 6 scones in 3 hands and offers one to Nyx as they're like traveling up.
Yep, I'll send
Nyx
a
kind
hail
of
to the station.
mindlessly takes it and gnaws on it.
Yeah, you call the station, and the station responds. A voice comes back and says, "Oh, this is a video. One to get to the station." It says, "Hello, You've reached Steelbird. I'm the comms officer for Imperial Outpost 281.
Hi, we're she'll mute a sec. Do we have a name for this ship?
No, we do not.
Great. All right, she'll unmute again and say, "Hi, sorry. We just came from further out. We actually had just rendezvoused previously with the oh my god, where did it go? With the variants, but we're making our way back into Imperial space. Is there dock space available for us to come in for a bit?
Absolutely. You can dock for as long as you need.
Excellent, thank you.
Is there quick question, sir? We were looking around. It seemed like you guys didn't have any higher paying work. Is there somebody we could talk to about that? Maybe it's not listed as publicly.
Yeah,
Any
make me
shipping work?
a leadership check, thanks, Valis.
Do 17.
You found the system-wide messaging network. All of the jobs currently available on Imperial Outpost 281 are there. You might be able to find independent private work on the outpost, but not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
There are civilians here. They might need something.
I'll mute. Kid, did you want to ask them something in specific?
Kid will just kind of nod to Valis and will walk over and unmute. Is it possible for us to be informed of if there had been any higher paying jobs posted on the board previously that have just been picked up by other contractors?
You can roll me leadership. I like this. I like having all of you ask questions to see if this person will be like, yeah, okay.
So, question.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't used this yet.
Uh-huh.
Is there any way for my passive to be effective here?
For your being kid ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it always works for you to invoke that aspect of your character.
Yeah, Kid
so
will,
yeah, you can always do it.
Kid will see that there's kind of like a pause after they ask. There isn't any Imperial bylaws that dictate that you have to have a statute of secrecy regarding any contracted work as long as the person contracting isn't officially affiliated with the Imperial military or any branching team.
Sorry, run that by me again. That's me as Jack.
Okay.
Like,
Kid was just saying that there isn't any Imperial bylaw that dictates that you cannot inform other contractors of another private contractor's work. The only protections would be if they were affiliated with the Empire or a branch of Imperial, like military or something like that. So it should be a question that could be easily answered.
Yeah. On the other end, Steelbird says, true, we have not had any private contractors link any high-paying jobs through the messaging network in the previous 3 or 4 years. Most of the work that we put up is from the Empire itself.
Thank you, Steelbird. We'll be docking shortly, and I will end the call.
Just
Start
hang up.
navigating us over there. Yep.
I guess we are at the edge of space. That does seem unusual.
Oh, it's definitely weird. Like, both you, Lucira, and Kid know that, like, shipping stuff out from here is like
Yeah.
a common job that people take when they're doing long haul trips.
Yeah, Lucira is also incredibly impressed with Kid's knowledge of bureaucratic bullshit.
Yeah.
To be clear,
Completely.
you weren't using your ability then, right?
Huh?
You were not using your ability then, because
Well,
different things will have happened if you were.
Okay. Actually, better. We never actually covered about this. How did this ability work?
You just tell me that you're using the ability, like because
Okay.
it is.
I was
It's technically activated.
Okay, I was going to see if I could use that ability to bypass a leadership role.
Sure. Let me check the wording of the ability instead of having you read it out to me. Have to wait for your character sheet to load.
Secrets.
It's more that it's a slightly awkwardly worded one, and I don't want people to see how poorly I write ability. That's the main thing. So as you go to click off Lucira, Steelbird like puts a hand up for a moment. Yeah, so basically you just tell me that you are activating Born into the Life, and all of the cost of it is the fact that you're willing to leverage who you are a little bit more than you might otherwise be willing to. Because they'll be like, okay, sure, it's weird how much you know about this. Like, that's a strange level of like specificity that even people that are bureaucrats don't necessarily find. Yeah, so Steelbird puts her hand up and goes, I will tell you that we don't have any long haul jobs posted, and we haven't had for some time, because we have a private contractor that comes back and forth and does them. So if you were looking for that kind of work, we can't accommodate.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And now I click and sign off.
Yeah, you see on the other screen, Steelbird's hand also goes to click it off.
I'm first.
That's still extremely weird to both of you. That doesn't
Mhm.
explain. But Kid in particular, like, well, that's crazy because that's an insane thing to private contract out. It's not profitable. You do it to get from place to place. Like,
Yeah, completely like juxtaposing what Kid had just previously spouted off. As soon as the call ends, Kid just kind of like turns to whoever's next to them. Yeah, that's all fucky.
Mm-hmm. That's people don't take those jobs because they get paid to do it. They get paid, but they get paid essentially in getting to go further in or back out. They don't make very much money on those. So why would a private contractor be taking all of those
So,
jobs for this particular outpost?
I'm slightly unfamiliar with the farther reaches. Are you saying people take that mainly just to, like, keep up on like fuel and stuff? Like it's not profitable, but you take those bulk jobs because you're heading in anyways. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it helps them keep their lights on, ship running.
So
Keeps them
it's
fed,
weird
but-
that somebody would be like, "Hey, I want all these jobs forever."
It's not
Yeah.
profitable.
Eventually be losing money. Doggo agrees.
realized that Steelbird was still on the line and was a dog. You get pinged to the ship computer a docking code for Imperial Outpost 281.
Okay, well, I'll take her in.
We see the unnamed ship carrying our crew come down onto this moon. There's an artificial atmosphere. Kid, it reminds you a lot of the Red Line asteroid in that it's very rocky, but instead of in that case where they had like a hidden base, this has like a big, quite well laid out spaceport, and then clearly some more buildings and stuff that are creating a city. as you land, we get a couple of shots of you all, like we'll see Valis piling the ship in, everybody else starting to like get stuff together to go off the ship. And the pristine, very sleek interior of your ship is juxtaposed with the where your ship is like bright white and chrome and like porcelain colored and stuff and smooth and elegant. The spaceport at Imperial Outpost 2A1 is iron and rust, and it looks brown despite the fact that metal like takes a lot to get into that state of disrepair. This outpost also isn't like numerically, Lucira, it's not like a super old one, but it is very, if not run down, lived in. And you feel the ship, the landing gears lock into the spaceport. As you look out, the spaceport's very big. It doesn't have a lot of other ships in it. There's maybe like one other bigger ship, and then a couple of like small that might be interstellar ones coming from intersystem ones. The you see that the spaceport kind of funnels towards what all of you see familiarly as an Imperial checkpoint, where you have to like show your ID and you have to like show like any papers that they need to get through. And there's a couple of dock workers wandering around.
Lucira will very pointedly take off her armor that hides her Imperial logo on her jumpsuit, so she looks Imperial.
Who is leaving the ship and who is staying?
I will leave.
I have a important clarifying question, Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Do I still have my Imperial ID?
Yes, you absolutely still have it because it's like
Okay.
buried somewhere in your smart lab, but you have your other ID as your primary one.
Okay. Then yeah, kid will leave.
What?
Locust is going to turn to Nyx, and I will let my decision rest on you.
Nyx is like finally like mostly awake, and just looks back at Locust and says, "Well, I'll go. Unless, do you think it's better that you stay, or we stay, or I could just stay?" Like she is still, you can tell she's still like just following along with what people are doing because this is 5 hours before when she would normally get up.
I think Alejandri cuts in as the person remaining and says, "Actually, I'm in charge of everything else, and I think that we should all go."
Nyx like looks at Alejandri and then turns to Valis like, "Is he the captain now?"
No, that's not what he said.
He said he's in charge of everything.
No, everything that isn't covered by Lucira and Valis. That's my position.
Yeah.
He's correct.
And
Nyx just
and
kind of
Kid-
wanders
Kid
off
also
after
has
them.
an official position.
I do.
Feels really like a demotion. But the important thing is I pulled both of you onto a ship, so I get one time to pull you two off a ship.
Yeah, why don't
Just
we all go? Teresa, lock the ship. Can I do that?
Yeah, you hear all of the doors closing and like hermetically sealing.
Haha! See, we can
We're
all
still
go.
great. Can you unlock them now, Valis? Because we're still on the ship.
Unlock the doors to the exit, please, and then lock them after we leave.
Sure, specifically just the door to the elevator. So if you didn't have your stuff on the bridge and at breakfast,
Can't
you don't
go.
get your stuff.
Val's just like, what? You guys didn't get fully dressed for this? As he's wearing his 3-piece suit.
Lucira is dressed, and has her smart slab, so that's really all she needs. But just kind of sighs a little bit.
You all head up.
Nyx is dressed, but only because she never changed out of her jumpsuit to go to sleep.
Say, how long did Nyx really get to sleep for? Like, was Nyx asleep for like 3 hours?
No, you said it's 6 a.m.?
Yeah.
Yeah, by the time you're
I-
eating breakfast, it's like just after 7, so it's like 7:45 now.
She probably got at least 2 hours of sleep. She's fine. She's fine.
2.
Yeah, that's how
Oh
it
boy.
works.
She slept
Yeah,
with her feet elevated.
the 6 of you head up the stairs. That's funny. The 6 of you head up the stairs into the elevator. The elevator doesn't give you an option, and it just takes you. Also, there's an exit from the bridge, so that just slides out, and none of the other stuff happens, and you just walk down that exit from the bridge. I forgot that there was an exit from there. As you see the landing gear, the ramp start to retract back into the seamless exterior of the ship. A quite small, like 4'7" tall person in Imperial armor and a hat but no helmet, which is not imperially mandated. You should wear something that is imperially acceptable as a headwear. Walks over very quickly and says, "Hello, I am the portmaster. Who's paying the port fees?"
I'll do that.
How much
It's,
are they?
It's 200 credits a day, and if you stay for a cycle, a week, which is 5 days, it's 600 credits. All of you that are not Nyx and Locust think that is slightly high, but not crazy high. Like a 20, no, not even 20%, 15% increase on what you might expect to pay for a ship of your size.
Sure, it's a big ship.
That's fine. How about we do a day for now and see what we come up with later.
Excellent.
Does that work?
Sure.
Sure, of course. Everything works for me. I'm just the portmaster. And he like pulls out a slab, and it's got like a payment screen, and one of you just has to like input your whatever credit stuff.
Out of curiosity, do you have a name? You just keep saying Portmaster.
Well, that is. My name is Doyle, but he like thinks and goes, "I don't get to be the portmaster very often."
I like your hat.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, where is your hat?
He notices your insignia and says, "Oh, unfortunately, the latest shipment of uniform from Imperial Center hasn't arrived, and we were under the impression that there had been an updated hat, and I don't have my hat anymore."
Can
So,
I have insight or whatever
yeah,
in
understanding.
understanding? Is he lying to me?
Sure, roll understanding.
I'm also going to, while this is going on quickly, probably not Venmo, whatever the app is on our Smart Slab, but I will send Lucira 100 credits.
He split wise it.
Space mode.
Yeah.
So certainly some parts are not lies. He's not lying that he doesn't have his Imperial issue hat. You are not familiar with an update to the uniform, and generally they would be made on station, but maybe stuff has happened. He's not completely fabricating what he's saying. He doesn't have a hat because he doesn't have access to a hat.
Okay. She'll just kind of stare, like, cock an eyebrow at him. I can't do it because I can't raise one eyebrow at a time. And then just turn to Valis.
Chris has got a good one eyebrow, right?
Yeah, Chris has got to go, and I can't do it. I can wink though, so I just have to like.
It would be weird to wink at him after he said that.
Yeah.
Let's move out. Thank you for your time, Doc Master, nameless one.
Well, he like looks around as if he's being like he's on a show that is like making fun of him, and he just decides to leave and not deal with you anymore.
Yeah,
Is it the awkward like we'll both walk in the same direction for a little
No,
bit
he,
and then
he goes to take like the correct measurements for your ship and stuff is his duty in the port and stuff.
Kid will just follow behind with their hands behind their head and just like, all right, bye, Doyle.
Look at Lucira and say,
Were you asking about the hat just to throw him off, or was that actually unusual?
But both.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not fully up to date on Imperial
I'm getting weird feelings about this
uniform
place.
standards, but
You know, like hairs on the back of my neck are.
the fact that he said he's not always, so it doesn't get to be the portmaster very often, makes me think there's, I don't know, something's weird. I don't like it.
Some kind of corruption, maybe. Maybe these shipments aren't being sent anywhere. They're somehow embezzling these funds.
If that's the case, then that's a problem. There's a lot of people in these sectors that need those shipments.
Nyx like looks up abruptly and says, "Oh, well, there would probably be traces of that. Would somebody like me to look into it?" And she's still like pulling up her smart slab.
Can we get like to Lucira? Can we get like a reward for turning that kind of thing in?
I think so. Yeah, I could find out if there's a possibility of that.
Kind of corruption bounty?
Yeah.
Probably not much of a bounty, more of a tit for tat type of thing. Might open a door though.
Well, and regardless, if people need these shipments, then
might be able to lean into some work. Okay. Yeah, Nyx, why don't you go ahead and do that?
But quietly.
Just yeah, I will do my best to be quiet, but you are aware that anytime you breach a system, there's some risk that you might end up. Well, it might not end up quiet in the end. So that's just a risk that we run. But I don't mind doing it.
I trust you, and if not, I trust myself to lie our way out.
Assume that you're doing this before reaching the quite well-manned Imperial checkpoint that you have.
Yes.
100%.
You're like walking slowly across. It's like a big space because you put like at the far end.
Yeah, they gave us the farthest away dock, even though there's no other ship.
Yeah, but there is a protocol to the ordering in which you are meant to dock people, and they put you in like one that is technically correct, but they could have put you closer.
Yeah.
Make a computer.
So Nyx is gonna, without having like interfaced with any sort of system computer, is just going to pull up her slab. And as she's doing so, she's I think she's asking Kid, because Kid, while she thinks that Lucira knows a lot about the Imperial systems, Kid also seems to be very good at bureaucratic stuff. And so she just kind of falls back to like walk next to Kid as she makes that
Just to be clear, you are not trying to.
Sorry.
Bless you.
You're trying to get further into their systems than just like the station network.
Yes, exactly. She is seeking access first, and then also looking with Kid to see if anything seems immediately obviously off before she goes in deeper.
Sure. You need to use your ability to get past that.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
So your smart slab is going to not show anything for the duration of this, because that happens internally.
Okay.
So Kid won't be able to like look at what, unless you want to funnel it to Dart, which you would be smart enough to know that you could do. That's weird.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that. All right. Yeah, make a computers check.
All right. Yeah, and so she's like, do you mind if I work with Dart a little bit? Kidren?
Kid will just tap their shoulder and deploy Dart.
Yeah. And so there's that check.
So the first thing, Kid, you're perceptive enough to not need to roll. The first thing you notice is that Nyx seems to be thinking, but their smart slab is blank. And we kind of you kind of turn to look at Nyx, and we zoom the camera straight into Nyx, where these nanites are like operating inside Nyx's brain itself. And one of them begins to send off this invisible signal that we as the audience get the pleasure of seeing. And we see it bounce around a couple of relay points up in the ceiling. And then next you get this wall of text in front of you. Are you outputting it to Kid?
Yes.
Kid, on your visor, you see a wall of text. The text is basically gibberish, but Nix, you can see lines of code in it that are reading your smart slab and locking its access to. They're reading the nanites and they're locking their access to the more sensitive areas of the ship. Which you probably also know you didn't do a good job with your computer hacking. It's rare for you to have to hack through the brain of a nanite.
Yeah, so Nix mutters, well, I don't seem to have set off any alarms, so that's the good news, but the bad news is I'm not getting anything useful.
Can you access public records?
Nix will make the attempt.
Yeah, but you can do that on your smart slab because they're public.
Yeah. I think we've already got that. Though Nix hasn't yet, and she would suggest maybe if I access public records and try a few filters to see if anything stands out to those of you who have more experience with this kind of thing. You all keep seeming to think it's very strange. And I won't know what I'm looking for, but maybe one of you do.
Nix sends you all a link to public records access, which is something that you could all find, but Nix finds it much quicker.
Sure.
I think
Let's do that.
I think Valis's brain. We'll go through the checkpoint first. I think before we start doing this. Or at least Valis will.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Sure.
Lucira.
Yeah,
You
we
get
don't
to the
stop.
checkpoint, and the person at the front kind of is looking at what is essentially a toll booth, but there's an enormous, what I think all of you except for maybe 3FL register as a giant metal detector. And there's a sign on the side that says no weapons on station. But one of them looks out and sees Lucira and waves Lucira over first. And says, "Oh, Commander, you can let me see your papers." As if remembering the protocol. They look at them, they scan them under a little light that will scan for true Imperial papers. They will bow their head and then salute to you and say, "You may go through weapons intact. Your group, unless they have rank, must give their weapons up."
Very well, that's fine. We know the drill. I'll just wait. And Lucira just kind of tapping and mindlessly on her
They let you
on her
through,
smart
not
slab.
through the metal detector. You don't have to even go through that. You're just you.
She's gonna stand there like you do when you are waiting at a stoplight or to crosswalk and you don't want to seem just awkward, so you sit there and pretend to play on your phone. She's doing that.
Yeah, you're playing Quasi Cakes.
Yep. Wait, what is that?
Is this common enough that I would have known that we weren't going to be able to bring our weapons?
Not every Imperial place. The Heart was you could carry weapons,
Right.
but some do. And Lucira correctly has not judged this to be weird.
Okay. I was just more thinking, would Valis have brought the weapon, knowing that?
You can roll. You can all roll another Imperial check once you're inside. Because the checkpoint is different in that it has a metal detector and other ones wouldn't.
I'll give up my gun. I brought it. But...
Your kid will unsling the rifle and the shotgun.
Oh yeah, I also hand them my sword, which I haven't used really, but I'm always carrying it.
The only thing Lucira has on her weapon-wise is just her taser. And that's just tucked into a little pouch on her hip.
Sure. Yeah, they don't mind. You can carry your weapons. You have Imperial rank.
One.
Also, you didn't need to roll this one because you just know
Nothing.
this happens sometimes. Yeah, 3FL, like, you couldn't have weapons at the Imperial compound. Like, some Imperial places, you can't have weapons. It's very normal. Kid, certainly there are spaceports that are, like, no weapons. Can everyone make me... Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that Nyx mentally isn't even classing her knife as a weapon. And so she just walks straight through the metal detector.
Sure, you have to put like your smart slabs and stuff into a separate thing.
Yeah, in a
and it
basket.
goes off. Yeah, it goes off when you walk through, and the guy beckons you back. It's like, are you carrying anything metal?
Yes. And so she'll pass over like her spanner, her tools, and then like as she's passing over all these little bitty tools,
They should have all
she
gone
also
into the box.
passes over the knife.
He looks at it.
Just like, oh my god.
He looks at the knife, and it's such a non-threatening knife that he puts it in the basket with the tools and just assumes it's like to strip cables. Like, it's really not a weapon.
It's a work knife.
It's
he's
like my little embroidery
yeah,
scissors.
It just... We don't get a lot of people through here, but it takes extra time if you don't put your things into the basket. Can everybody except for Nyx? Oh no, Nyx as well. Everybody make me a perception check, and I will, I guess, roll this guy, his friends.
-1 for me. Oh
They all
boy.
rolled really good. I forget that Lucira is...
I'm
bad
not
at
wise.
Not perceptive.
Alejandra and Lucira.
Hot 3.
Not rolling very well. I got 10.
Dirty 20.
Well, that's absolutely not enough.
That's just
20.
a check, so my condition doesn't apply, right?
20, how much? Yeah, just a check. Did you just get a 0? Nyx?
A 1. I got a 1, thank you.
Okay, a 1. 1 plus 0. All right, so 20 is not enough. 22 for 3FL. None of you see it, but we as the audience watch Alejandri put like 2 swords, like a couple of bigger knives into a basket, his smart slab. He pulls like out a little necklace that he had been carrying, and he puts that in, and a couple of other stuff. And then as he's like explaining to the guy, we see his eyes kind of dart around, and he pulls a sword out and he just throws it through a little gap in the metal detector. And by the time it like he walks through, he catches it and puts it back in because he critted his stealth check.
Oh!
Oh.
But I guess
Swords
lucky
guy.
that you're lucky that he crit because he wasn't leaving one sword at least.
That's really
As
cool though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, how do you crit get through this? But as the rest of you are willing to give up your weapons, 3FL, they will see
Well-
you, and kind of be like, we're gonna do a like personal scan, I guess.
Yes,
Your
that'll be
robot's not carrying anything, Commander, right?
Correct. 3FL Locust is a guardian droid, and they help with our medical needs on ship, so they should have nothing on them.
Unless
You
you
can-
consider
you
a
can roll me,
vine a deadly weapon.
Lucira, you can roll me a leadership check. And
Can I just do my reliable? Use my
Sure,
reliable passive?
you can roll it and then pick to
Okay.
do it after. since
Oh,
they
that's true. I
changed it.
guess I could do
Um,
really good.
Yeah, it's always better to roll it because like it's a respect thing for them as well. And he turns to Valis and says, "Should I consider a vine?"
I'm gonna take my reliable to make it a dirty 20.
Sure. Yeah, he's like, "Okay, gardening robot, you can go through." It's gonna beep. Yeah, it's like the loud beep. And then the guy, once you're all through, you've all left your weapons. He says you can pick them up when you come back through. He walks over to Lucira and kind of pulls you aside a little bit from the group and says, we did have a report that there was an attempted incursion against our security systems for the station security.
All right. It wasn't me. It shouldn't have been any of my crew. So maybe you got somebody else
Sure,
doing something.
but nobody else has come in, and it came from this sector of the station.
All
So
right.
it was either me, or he points to like a person that's picking their nose. Like they think that they're no longer going to be like important. Or it was Doyle, and that smart slab doesn't have like exterior access because for reasons you don't need to know the reasons. But
Speaking of
so-
Doyle, that hat. Where's he said something about lost Imperial in uniform shipment.
Yes, deflect.
Look, I'm not here to get anyone in trouble, but Doyle has a gambling problem, and he lost that hat to a civilian.
All right.
But again, from your group, there was an attempted incursion against our security.
Okay, cool.
As
But
you know, that will be
what's
a
the
fine.
point?
I think they're
what's the
talking
point of
separately
saying-
from us.
It's just a
Yeah.
Lucira.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Because she's the leader of your group.
Yeah,
To them.
that's fair.
Yeah, so like we could prosecute and we could go through the premise of that because we could trace it back, right?
Of course, I'll discipline the appropriate person and take away their smart slab.
Sure, there's a fine.
I'll pay the fine. Don't worry about it.
All right. He like writes up a thing on his smart slab and it like passes across to you for 2,000 credits.
All right. Yeah. Working with civilians is they don't
Because
know
it-
the hero standards
you-
always, so
I think you know that it's cheap because it was like it didn't get anywhere.
Mhm.
Like that they would prosecute if that had got any further than that, and they're kind of doing you a favor.
I apologize. My crew is new and several of them haven't really been on Imperial postings before, so
Look, these things happen.
they happen.
It's fine. It's fine. Water under the bridge.
Great.
Enjoy your time on Imperial Outpost 281. I meant to say that. You know this.
Yes, thank you. All right, we'll be out of your hair.
He goes back to his booth, and as you walk off, we like pan back to him reading like a magazine. That's his life. But the station kind of opens up a little bit. This is all interior, and there's a lot of places that look like they at one point had people in them, and they've like closed down, like stores that maybe existed in this area. Like when you got off the port of your ship, there might be stores. It's covered, but you eventually walk through this quite dead area and step out into atmosphere. You just see like the very distant light of the sun out here. It's quite cold, even though it has like a regulated temperature in the atmosphere. But you do start to see actual signs of people. There's a group of stores you can see like to your left. You're up on a little bit of a rise, and there'll be stairs down. To your left, you can see like a group of. They seem like they're various variety shops with like signs and things and stuff, but you can't really tell what they are from here. Directly ahead, Lucira, you can tell that this would be like the Imperial command center of this outpost. And to the right seems to be residential stuff.
All right, before we head down, I'm gonna go up to Nyx and say, hey, they saw you and that, so let's maybe not try hacking into the system again. That was an expensive mess.
Nyx goes from like their usual like soft shade of sort of sky blue to like such a deep almost purple blue and doesn't say anything at all, just like nods very rapidly and sort of like slows down a little bit and conspicuously makes sure that their smart slab is completely out of sight.
Lucira will then like it's fine, I covered it, but maybe we should decide ahead of time when we're going to do something like that, as I'd rather not have to pay that much again. Wasn't that much, but it was not an non-trivial amount of credits. But it's fine. I have let's just go. I can maybe get some of that back soon.
Do you
Nyx
say
is
this
just
separately
following.
from the group as well?
I just like I don't know if it's separate. It's more like I've just kind of walked back with Nyx a little bit, depending on where Nyx is in the group arrangement.
I will assume that I didn't hear it.
I think that unless you are interested in eavesdropping, you don't make a roll. But if you are interested in eavesdropping, make a roll.
What am I rolling?
Perception.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't think Locust has the thought that eavesdropping is sometimes rude. I mean, our roll for Alahan, who also doesn't think eavesdropping is rude, but he's terrible at it.
Yeah, because like Lucira is speaking quietly, but isn't making it so like, isn't doing it like over message or anything. But
Right.
Yeah, I think probably with a 16, you don't you know that they're talking about something, but you'd have to walk a little bit closer to overhear it. And if you want to do that, you are welcome to.
Is Nick? So Nyx gives a visual representation of.
Oh yeah, you noticed that part definitely.
Yeah.
If you notice the Nick's full body color change.
So once Lucira is and Nyx are done with their interaction, Locust will fall back to walk next to Nyx. Nyx, are you okay?
Nyx's color had started to fade because it's a very short-term color change. But the minute that Locust asks, the color swap starts to come back. Why wouldn't I be? Of course I'm fine. Everything's fine.
You don't have to tell me. But may I walk next to you for the rest of our walk?
Nyx shoots Locust a stare, and it's pretty close to a glare, but then it softens, and she just puts her reaches out to put her good hand instinctively towards Locust, then stares at it, kind of flexing it because it's really still bothering her.
Sorry, you gain back 2 condition from the 20
Okay.
days. It's very
Cool.
important that I remember that you have gained condition just from
Cool, I'll
time
add that.
healing.
Yes, I'll add that to my sheet. So she flexes it and then puts her hand in Locust's.
Locust will
She's still
smile.
glaring slightly.
Yes, thank you. I like your company.
Nyx starts to say something 3 times. There's 3 distinct stutters. And she just goes quiet again and just holds Locust's hand.
Well, that's adorable. So, are you all heading in a particular place? Do some people want to go to another place?
Once we're
There are bars here.
once we're in a bit, I'm gonna kind of stop and look at everybody and say, so I think I'm not that good with the bureaucratic aspects, but I don't know if Lucira or Kid, if you guys, I was thinking we could maybe look into, because he told us when this private contract went into effect. If we could, I don't know if this is on the public records or not, but if we could see maybe any transfers or any promotions up into station power that that occurred just before this contract went into effect, we might be able to figure out who is orchestrating these things. But since I feel like that's more of a long-term thing. Anybody who wants to come with me, I'm gonna go hit up, the usual places for the work that might not be on the net.
Sure. I am going to I'm gonna go get a drink and see what I can find out on my own.
Excellent. All right. Anybody with me? Nyx? Locust?
Looking between the options, Nyx tugs Locust in the direction of Alice.
Yes, Space Dad has won.
Yes.
Space Dad versus Space Mom. Who's gonna win? Space Mom needs some wine.
Are you, Kid, are you going off on your own?
Actually, Kid will not like walk with Lucira, but is also heading to a bar. And if it just happens to be the same bar.
I'm not going with you. I'm just going to the same place you are at the same time.
Looks at the two groups and like, well, those two don't like me, and like two are like this group does like me, but I have a sword and they're going to a bar. But eventually we'll like attach to Valis's group, like trusting that you guys can handle yourself. Like I don't want to be just in a bad situation for the next few hours because I was like I should look after people. So you kind of both head in the same direction. Lucira, you very quickly see a sign for a couple of bars. One is called. Sorry, I have too many cards. I'm too prepared for this exact question.
Oh, you sent me one.
Yeah, also I didn't write down. One is the Galactic Gate or the Galaxy Gate, one of those two things. And the other one is just called the Red Door.
All right, I'll head towards Galaxy Gate.
Sure. You head to Galaxy Gate. It's also the closest one, so Kid, you end up kind of there. You'd have to walk like a little bit further down. It's like an extra 3 or 4 minute walk to get to the Red Door.
Yeah.
But it is just a giant red door on the side of a building. But we will watch the others. As Valis, you're kind of walking through the more market-based area. So this is like the entertainment avenue, and you walk down the market avenue of this quite small area. You're looking around. There's not a lot of standard stores. There is a like Imperial Productions ship maintenance store. So if you needed to get fuel or anything for the ship, there is an Imperial Productions place for that. But otherwise, there are a lot of like very small stalls, kind of like the same size as Arian's hat shop, in that like they're divided big stores. And as you're walking, in particular, one voice carries from like the kind of low chatter of this space. There's maybe like it's a very small amount of people wandering around, and then the store owners. But you hear a voice say, "Fortune's told, fortune's told," and like points out to Nix and Conifer in particular. Says, "Would you like a fortune told, or your 3-armed friend, or your brusque walking friend?"
How does
You cut off at the end of that.
How?
Oh, well, you would come in here and you see like a table set up with like a cover on it. It says, and then I would tell your fortune with the power of the mystic veil of the universe.
Can Nyx Nyx is not a high on spirituals, but can Nyx just like run some sort of insight check on that, because
Yes,
I think she believes that some people can do that, but she also thinks that a lot of people are just bullshitting.
You can roll understanding.
I would like to hit that also.
Sure. You can both roll understanding. He is a tall, very dark, like black-haired man. He's got extremely pale white skin, like bone white. His
Any
clothes,
preference?
charisma.
Yep.
Oh, then I have a 6.
He's wearing quite light robe type things that kind of just function as layers draped off his whole body. Yeah, he seems to be the kind of person that is claiming to have supernatural ability to tell fortunes, and you can't tell that he's lying.
No. So
you get reliably 15.
yeah. What? 11 plus 7. I actually got an 18 on that.
18. You don't think he's lying.
How do you understand the nature of the fabric of the universe?
It is a role that some of my people take, and I have found myself here for whatever the universe means me to be or do. Maybe I was here to have this exact conversation with you. Although that seems... I've come a long way if that's the case.
Well, that seems to be what you think you mean to the universe, but what about the other way?
What the universe means to me?
Yes.
Sure, I am a follower of the universe. Make a perception check.
What's your philosophy? Oh yeah, I like philosophy.
Yeah, like, his answer is that. Which is... There's familiar about him, but you can't place it. He said, the universe is the way that I guide my life. I don't really understand the nature of your question. Would you like to have your fortune told?
Yes, I think so, by you. Like you. You're comforting and familiar.
How much, pray tell?
He kind of looks at you and says, 10 credits? You seem to have an interesting future.
I kind of nod, like, yeah, that
It's
seems, even if it's
sorry.
a ripoff, that's like an appropriate ripoff, so that's fine.
10 credits for
Where's
your...
Cooler?
10 credits for your sentient friend. You can pay more. Your future seems uninteresting.
That's okay. I don't really believe in fate, as it were, so I'll pay for the two of them.
He conspiratorially says to Locust, I could say that I would charge him more because I knew already that he wasn't going to take me up on fortune telling.
Yes, I don't think you need to be a fortune teller to tell that.
No, but it helps. I knew earlier, when he was not here yet. I knew that a surly man would come and disparage my life. Come this way, sit down.
10 o'clock.
Jesus.
Did Alejandro come with us? Is that what he was saying earlier?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nix looks over to see if Alejandro is in on this game or...
He's watching curiously. Like, he doesn't seem to be as anti-potentially fortune-telling as Valis seems to be on the surface.
I really like the implication that Locust is the sentient friend, not to be confused with one of the other non-sentient friends. Also.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one way to take what he said. He gestures to a seat. It's like a very bare metal seat, and he sits on one that is the same. He pulls out... it is close to a crystal ball. But it's much bigger and it's much clearer. And as he touches his fingers across it, much like one of those balls where the electricity like arcs towards your fingers, as he touches it, stars dance within the ball. And he says, would you like to ask a question of the universe or of me, depending on your predisposition to believing in the fatalistic nature of the universe?
Big question that I, Kristen Ammons, need to process. Do I have a question? I have many.
Start with the first one.
On what I think could be considered a pilgrimage, and I've lost the intent, or I've lost the focus because now I am with a group of other people, and I need to know if I need to cut my pilgrimage short to support these new friends that I have, or if I need to continue on.
I'm not going to type it there. Sorry, I was going to type and roll it, but I'll just roll it. He says, well, all pilgrimages have deviations, and it is in the decisions you make along the way that decide whether the pilgrimage had value in the first place. Nobody is where they intended to be, but you are where the universe intended you to be. And he reaches for a moment, and you can see him like his brain is occupied elsewhere, like he's trying to find a word. And he says, even the smallest tree does not grow straight. And it is in the winds of the trunk and bough that it grows character.
I suppose that maybe I allowed myself to impart too much purpose onto the universe when purpose is for my own self to define, I think. My next question is, who are you?
Oh, I am, he like is a little bit shocked, and he goes, I don't need to ask the universe that, but he like dances his finger across the stars, and this time the stars like shuffle up a little bit out of the orb, and he says, I am Lethio Vast. I have traveled far to come here. Can you make me either an understanding or a perception check? And it is your choice.
Well, that I will have to make that an understanding check. So
It's like a combination of both, but I think better than giving you advantage, I'll let you roll the better stat, the skill.
do you want that as charisma or wisdom?
Wisdom.
Oh, excellent. So that's going to at least be a 19.
So 19.
19.
It's a combination of his name, which I will type for you in the dice switch. And the proximity to him, that you notice now that his face is not white naturally, but with makeup. Much like your friend from your past.
I think you're beautiful.
He says, that's alarmingly forward, but the universe thinks we all to be beautiful.
Yes, that was the point. You remind me of a friend that I made a while ago. I don't think I messaged her back.
Perhaps the universe wanted to wait for your response to your friend.
Have you been in contact with Ethiopian recently?
Make a perception check.
That was
What were the
Icthiobin, is that right?
Now I'll type that one as well because
We're all standing nearby, right?
yeah, you can hear this. He's not
Right.
He's vaguely cryptic, but yeah, you see him like raise, like his whole face is like one of surprise, but it's very quick. He says, no, we are. I'm aware of the Star Child, of course, as are all of our people. He kind of like tilts his head. Perhaps you are why I was here, but I don't know why yet. And he like puts his hand fully on the ball, and the stars vanish, and you see the makeup that is on his hand begins to run as if washed away, and his skin turns to that familiar to you, but to everybody else unfamiliar, translucent layer over a universe of stars. He says, do you have any other questions?
this one more practical, and I could probably find this out from one of the civilians. Haven't there been shipments to and from this planet? And are supplies being distributed as is necessary?
He takes a look around. There's nobody really around here that wasn't here when you started talking to him, and he kind of looks and he says, shipments come and they go as intended. And they are distributed, though perhaps not as fairly as we think. The prices are high. He kind of looks at you, and like your question about Ichthyr Brood is clearly playing on his mind more than his answer to this question, and he says, let's just say that the Imperials choose to set prices that some of us would think unfair.
You zoom out from a system large enough, everything recycles. Energy is neither lost nor destroyed nor gained. But within these very tiny, tiny systems, I have found that there's a lot of destruction that happens on this individual level. And I am sorry that you are being impacted by that right now, and I wish that was not the case.
He nods and says, I feel my burden lightened by your words. And he looks down at his hand, kind of realizing that his makeup has run, and says, I will allow you one more, and then I need to go reapply this.
Insist on the paint.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
No, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to pivot.
Okay. I'm on board.
Planets in this system, we don't know much about them. I am finding myself somewhat drawn to one of the ones that is supposedly uninhabited, and thus making it less important to some of the living people in my party. What is the status of these less well-known planets, and is there a reason for me to be there?
He actually this time looks into the bowl, and you can see like that it culminates into like a star map of the current sector. And he says, these two, and he points to the ones that on the Imperial map are unknown. He says, these two have not been traversed in a long enough time that the universe as a civilization forgets them. And I cannot give you more, for it is not my place to unearth dead secrets. However, Gilnas is a verdant planet, a lot of plants, things like that, but it is not a step on the pilgrimage that you speak of. But you would enjoy that.
I'm sure I would. Have you been?
I was on one of the moons. It's hard to get people to go down to that ship, to that planet. Pardon me.
Why is that? If it's beautiful.
Both of the research companies tend to enjoy doing their research from a distance, and they control the planet with permits. So you can't go without their blessing. They are unpleasant to try and deal with.
I wonder. Been wonderful. I think I must return to my friends.
He smiles and puts his hand on your hand and says, if you do speak to the Star Child, And then he cuts himself off and says, I don't think anything I say will matter to her.
Me. And it matters to you, it would seem.
Something mattering to you is not always reason enough. But tell her that I hope her pilgrimage is successful. And that I'm sorry she is the one that has to take that pilgrimage.
I think that will matter to her.
I don't, but I hope you are right and I am wrong.
I have one final thought on that matter, and that's that nothing really matters to the universe except for how we allow it to matter. So if that is your philosophy and that is my friend's shared philosophy, then I think it will. Thank you again. And Locust will leave.
He narrows his eyes the way that a teacher who's like, I don't know that they got the point. But then says to the rest of you, see, a very satisfied customer. Would any of you like to have your fortunes told? And before any of you answer, we see the other two in a hard flash cut walk into a bar that is far more reminiscent of like a empty tap room in a fantasy setting than a bar that would have music. There's a wooden countertop. There's a man standing behind it who is ostensibly rotating bottles so they're facing the right way, but they're all already perfect. There's a couple of older people sitting at a table playing what seems to be some variant on a dominoes type of game. And there's another single person asleep at a table.
Lucira, I was
Poppin'
double muted.
bar.
Haha. Lucira will go and sit at the bar.
Bartender walks over, looks at Kid to see what Kid is doing because Lucira walked with such purpose.
Who could you go over who was in the bar again, real quick?
There's two older people that you can't really tell anything about them beyond the fact that they seem older, playing dominoes at a table in the back. It's not dominoes; it's a version of dominoes. I'm not going to write rules for it. And then one person who's like asleep at a table, kind of in the middle of the room.
Kid will go to the end of the bar that is closest to the two old people.
Sure. The bartender kind of watches him for a while, and then turns his attention to Lucira and says, "Can I get you a drink of some kind?"
Yeah, give me your best imperial stout.
Kind of gives you a slightly odd look and goes and gets you a bottle like that he gets from a. There's like a really sci-fi hiss to the way this fridge opens, and then like smoke comes out. It's like very not in keeping with the rustic aesthetic of the rest of the place. And he places that down and says, "Let me attend to your friend." And he like wanders over to Kid. "What can I get you?"
Kid will kind of look back at the bartender, as I imagine they're kind of more just like leaning back against the bar. Water.
He reaches under the bar and pulls out like a jug that is filled with water and a wooden cup, and he pours it for you. It's like warm water.
Not
And he
even
pours
ice.
it quite slowly, and then he puts the jug back, but he leaves the jug out for you. And then deciding that one person is likely to pay for drinks and the other is likely to drink water, returns to Lucira.
Lucira has also pulled out of her smart slab and just has a little thing flashing on it, but it's kind of she's slid it out onto the bar, so it's a little bit ahead of her, and hopes that the bartender sees it.
Sure, he kind of notices it as he glances down, and he puts his hand down on the counter next to it and he has his hand like this, where this finger is curled up,
Mhm.
which you know to mean it's like giving you a particular time, but saying that the location is here, and it's like a few hours from now.
Great.
And he says, well, if I can get you anything, let me know. You're new to the outpost?
Yeah, we're just passing through looking for some work. New crew, trying to test them out a little bit, you know.
He grunts and kind of looks over at Kid, and then from the people playing dominoes, there's like a small cheer and one person like scattering some dominoes to the ground and then going immediately to start picking them up. And he turns back as that momentary excitement in his life ends. Says, well, it's probably best to not stick around. There's not a lot to do here, and nothing particularly interesting to stick your nose in.
Right, well, this is a good stout, so I'll enjoy this and then I'll head out. Wanted to always make it an important part of checking out. She doesn't stutter. I'm just stuttering because I can't speak today. Checking out the local bar scene. See if there's anything new that I haven't tried yet.
The stout is one of our better drinks. He kind of looks at you and says, well, I've got some cleaning to do. And he takes like a rag and is dusting bottles that are spotless, but willfully not interacting with you anymore. And you pay for your drink, which is like 7 credits.
My money just keeps going down.
Kid, your drink is free because legally you cannot charge for water in Imperial like settlements. Other settlements you can, but the Empire.
Do they charge for ice?
If you ask for ice, he will nod and say, I thought that you might have been one of those you drink water for life-giving purposes instead of like enjoyment." And he reaches down into like a bucket and pulls out a chunk of dry ice and drops it into your thing. And then
No,
grabs
it's
some
just carbonated water.
then grabs some tongs separately and pulls it out after. He didn't use tongs to put it into your drink. He just barehanded the dry ice.
Kid was kind of staring out at their slightly like fogging like drink before looking back up. I did have a question. Well, a couple of them, if you didn't mind answering any.
Sure. I live to answer questions from the people that order water in my bar.
Had a feeling.
He laughs. Yes, but no, go ahead. I don't have anything else to do until I have to kick those two out for getting too rowdy.
Kid will kind of like spin to where they're sitting in their chair properly now, like facing the bartender. So we just got in recently, and we had been informed that there wasn't any long haul jobs available. Something about some other contractor taking them all up a lot all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And who is that anyway?
It's one of a corporation that operates in these outer sectors. I think they're affiliated with pirates, but they bring in cargo and they take out cargo, and the Empire seem to be pretty happy with it.
What makes you think they're affiliated with pirates?
Most people in the sectors around this one are affiliated with pirates. We're at the edge of pirate space.
But specifically pirates that the Empire doesn't mind.
Well, they do the job for the price that normally people would have just taken the long haul cargo jobs for, and they do it regularly, and we don't have to wait for a group to come in that is willing to go to where we need to go.
When's the last time they were around? Must have been recently, since there was no openings.
He thinks for a bit. He says, probably around 15 days ago, but they only come once every 40. They deliver entire cargoes hold worth. And they take, we mine here. There's like mining machines that will dig up ore, and they take them to production factories and things.
Gotcha. Well, I was being curious.
Sure. So, not a lot to do here then, other than ask questions.
Kid will just go to sipping their dry iced water.
He
That just seems horrible.
he goes to start. He starts cleaning glasses, in a way that looks largely like if you were emulating a bartender, because they're already spotless. About 5 or 6 minutes pass, and another outcry. This time, the different voice happens, and one of the people playing dominoes is like, "I swear, if you keep cheating, I'm going to eat one of these dominoes, and we'll never be able to play again." And he like is threatening it like over his mouth, but then slams it back down on the table, and they continue.
Lucira will
How-
finish the last of her drink at that outburst of anger about a game, and will just kind of nod a little, like just do a slight nod towards Kid, and then kind of tap the empty glass on the bar and say thank you, and she will leave the bar.
Kid
He
will make pointed eye contact with the bartender and just one like continuous drink, finish their dry iced water, and leave after that.
As you like step out the door, the screen cuts to black, and we see the fortune teller saying, "So, anyone? Fortune? Yes? No?"
I think Nick shrugs and looks at the other two, and then stalks up and switches the chair around and sits and stares at him. Do I have an interesting future? I mean, I don't see why I would have any more interesting a future than Locust, but
I would be careful what you wish for if you want such an interesting future as your friend.
I don't particularly. No, that is not what I was implying at all.
Are you asking on your behalf or one of your many others' behalves? I should charge you more, really.
Nick goes very, very wide-eyed, and that frill at the back of her neck that's usually almost completely flat kind of flares up. I was asking on my behalf, but you could tell me about. I would like to know anything that you know. Well, that is particularly impressive. I am impressed.
He inclines his head slightly in, like, well, I thank you for your respect of me. But no, I think it's probably best that we focus on the you. You can ask some questions, as your friend did, until I lose the universe's connection to you.
Okay, questions. Will I ever get rid of them? Are they here to stay? Is there a way to get rid of them?
Bowl does not require to be filled, but something becomes of the fish if it isn't. I don't know if that's insensitive. Going into the other voice, I don't know if that's insensitive to call one in your condition a fishbowl. I suspect it is, but the universe uses these words. It's the benefit of speaking for the universe. You have deniability when you are inadvertently offensive.
I'm you know, Chips is going to like that line. If I'll tell Chips. Okay. I don't think I have any more questions then. Thank you. And she's just like sitting there, kind of tapping at the back of her chair.
He looks at you and says, "Well, nothing is keeping you here, so you're welcome to leave."
Nick's like kind of scrambles up, almost knocks down the chair, and wanders over to Locust. And not really bothering to be particularly quiet, says, "Well, that wasn't as entertaining as I'd hoped."
Yeah, it really is. I don't have a fortune, but I'll tell you what, sir. I'll give you 50 credits if you give me a line on high-paying work.
He looks at you and says, there are 2 botanical research jobs on the messaging network. You don't need to give me 50 credits because
I already knew about those. I meant on station? Nothing?
nothing that I can think of that pays in credits.
Sure.
If you are interested in moral payment, then I suspect there is work for you here. But I also don't think you are.
I might know what you're talking about. I can be. I haven't had the luxury of late.
He smiles. Make a willpower saving throw.
Although Chris and I both went, oh.
Yeah, anytime it's like a save.
What D2?
You feel a probing at like that is trying to reach deeper than the surface of what you're kind of thinking about, and you like swiftly rebuke it, and he kind of looks at you and says, "Well, to some, the universe chooses not to speak."
Some people know how to protect their minds. I think we're done here.
He nods, and as you're kind of leaving, because Alejandro, like when you say that, it's like I don't
Oh,
really
I'm
want
just like,
any part of
wait,
this.
I wanted to get my fortune done.
I know. He's like, I don't want to do this. Also, they like seemed like there was a lot of stuff that was real about it, and Alejandro doesn't want to deal with real stuff either. But he says to Locust, as you're kind of walking away, he calls out and says, "When the wheels of prophecy are in motion, all pilgrimages lead to the same place."
There's something about that that makes Locust isn't going to verbally respond, maybe just nod. There's something about that that simultaneously makes them like their not stomach drop, but also like lift their heart in like a very positive direction, because it's a very ominous thing to say, knowing what Ichthia Brune's like pilgrimage really does mean for her versus what that means like in Locust's immediate future, and like their ability to maybe recounsel some of their loose ends. So
As you nod and the party walks away, he like looks down at the stars that are brimming across his hand, and like twirls his fingers, and they start to jump from finger to finger. And he pushes like a button that's underneath his desk, and the door, just a roller door, closes on his business for the day. It's like, I think that's enough.
Um, Locust, I don't know about your business, but I did hear some of that. Maybe you could tell me sometime if you want, but just a small word of advice before we go looking for more trouble. Anybody ever tell you what the point of a pilgrimage is?
yes, it's a spiritual experience where you are headed to a goal, but the journey is just as informative as what you're trying to do.
Well, then I think you already know the answer to your question.
As you're all talking, Alejandro's like, where are you going to get like underworld information on this place?
Well, I was just kind of looking to. I actually wanted to make a check, but I was waiting because that guy was there. I wanted to. My plan was to go look around, see what the station was about, and then, hit up some bars, talk to some shadier looking folks. Not the first time I've ever had to insert myself into the culture.
Alejandro nods and says, I guess that's definitely one way to do it. I will follow your lead, Vice Captain.
It's more of a curiosity. We have 2 jobs we could go do, which really sound like the same job, just for different people, which slightly worries me.
Yeah, one side always loses, right, Nix?
Nix just like scowls at Alejandro slightly. So if that's one way to do it, then what would be the other way to do it, since you were implying that you had another way?
Kind of looks around for a second and kind of thinks for a moment, and he sees like a store owner like setting up a shop, and he walks over and like leans closing down the shop because it's kind of hitting that time of day, and he leans against like the post and says quietly enough that you will need to make a perception check to hear it. I nearly rolled for him. I'm like, he's speaking. Like, he doesn't need it. But you do all see, you don't hear it, but you do all see him open his coat, and show the sword. And the person kind of backs up a little bit, and then, like, in a quite rapid whisper, speaks back to him, and, like, eyes dart down the road. And he walks back and says, they pay protection to a guy that works at the Red Door. His name's Bell Tower. People always pay protection to someone.
Yeah, that's not really that different from what I was going to do. I just wasn't going to flash a sword around.
Because you don't have a sword. I understand. That's why you're vice captain, because you use what you have.
Alejandro, I just, in general, don't really go around flashing people. It's not something I'm into. Just so we're clear.
I think Alejandro's people don't understand that connotation of flashing.
Let's, we can go down the road. See what's up.
I think Nix just casually turns to Locust and says, "Did you catch that subtext?"
You're muted.
Will I make a roll for it? Yes.
Understanding
Like-
is good enough that you don't need to roll for subtext ever.
Roll for subtext. I mean, I wasn't trying to be like particularly like, ooh.
That's your one-liner for today.
Valis, the singular wearer of a trench coat.
Yep.
But
I've never flashed nobody, have I?
You head down to the Red Door. This one, when you walk into it, is a little bit more sci-fi in that there is music pumping. It's not quite so bad as the dubstep bar, but there is music. It's a lot more chrome. The chrome is still not in great condition, but there's some people dancing. There's some people drinking. There's a couple of booths with people like actually sitting in it. Because when you live in a boring place, of course you'd pick this bar over the Galaxy Gate. Alejandro like looks at Valis and is like, I think he like gestures for you to go ahead.
Uh-huh.
I got you in
Dude.
the door, so to speak.
Do they all run into Lucira and Kidren?
Yeah, are you both going to the next bar,
Kid was going to.
Lucira?
Lucira would probably just find. Actually, she probably would not go to the next bar. She'd probably go find some like food,
Sure.
and then
Go all
go
food.
back.
You all notice Kid. I assume in roughly the same position as the last time you all found Kid in the bar.
Yeah.
Like own music playing, sitting in a booth. So you kind of scan the room and you do see Kid in one of the booths.
Okay. I'll look around for whoever seems to be the boss, a lieutenant, a guy with some person with, people around them kind of
Sure.
as
Make me
they
a-
are wont to do, these criminals.
Make me an underworld check.
Okay.
Oh, Henry rolls so good on these things. What's his roll even? Not that good.
Terrible tonight. 9.
There is a person in like a heavy black coat with sunglasses in this dark bar, sitting at the back, flanked by a man on one side and a woman on the other side, who looks to you like they might be some kind of boss.
I look at Andre. What was that name you got again?
It was Bell Tower.
Bell Tower. What a dumb name. Okay. I will, looking around, not seeing anybody better, walk up to the trench coat guy. Fellow trench coat wearer.
I think you're lucky. He's not wearing a trench coat. He's wearing a heavy black coat.
Okay.
There's a difference.
Right.
But Alejandro kind of walks beside you and says,
As all coat connoisseurs know.
Yeah. Alejandro walks beside you and says, hey, Captain, I know that you do things your way and you use what you've got, but that's definitely someone that's a prostitution group. Like, there's absolutely no way that's who we're meant to be.
You never gotten information from prostitutes?
I've never needed to because I can get it other ways.
They're the
But like I
best
said,
people.
if
Where do you think these guys go after? Like, these gals?
yeah, I've never met a criminal with a partner. You're right. Go ahead. And he like walks back to the other group because even though his reputation doesn't matter on this planet, it matters to him enough that he doesn't want to be a part of this.
That's
I
right.
have a quick question. From wherever Kidren is, assuming that Kid can't hear anything that's happening because, their own music, is this just a visual of Valis confidently walking towards just a group of
No, it's not
Okay.
obvious. It's not evident to anybody that it's a group of prostitutes, but Alejandro did roll very well. And Valis did sadly roll very badly.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, so you
I'll
walk
still go
up
up to
and the man with glasses like leans his head forward and then lowers his glasses and says, you looking for something? And puts them back up. I knew that was going to happen. I refuse to let you roleplay Valis in this scene seriously now.
That was peak comedy. Hold on, I need a second. Listen, I'm not really looking for you, but I was hoping you could help me find Bell Tower.
Could I convince you to be looking for me? He takes his glasses off completely. He has very nice eyes.
Maybe afterwards. I will tell you though, I usually go the other way.
He kind of looks at the two next to him and gestures to the woman, and he's like, "Oh well, I can help you out. First, preferably."
Unfortunately, I have to do business before pleasure.
Unfortunately, so do I.
Well, thank you for your time, then.
All right, they go back to talking to each other when it's clear you're not going to spend any money.
Yeah.
Valis is not going to spend credits on that. Certainly, certainly not at this
Lucira
time.
gets an invoice that's like, I need reimbursement because I did this for a job.
Yeah, this
but I
was
did
a
hire
job payment thing. I'll just send one to the other crew members, like, hey, go have sex, and then we'll get the information we need.
Alejandro kind of looks at you with a slightly like, how'd it go expression.
It went fine. They seem to be. I lied to him. I straight up lied to him. They seem to be working for Bell Tower, and they said that if I didn't know, then I need to talk to him.
Roll deception.
If I would fail again, this is so many bad rolls in a row today. I'm really good at this, guys. With charisma.
Yes.
Or wisdom.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
I'm
really
not
good, but then I got caught with applied or computers, so
21. Praise the Lord. Aha.
He looks at you and goes, okay, well.
You see this guy anywhere?
No,
I don't
don't
do
know
a
if I
ton
made
with pirates. It's more organized crime.
I don't know if I made it clear earlier, but my method is to go intimidate and threaten people into getting information, and I didn't talk to anyone.
I mean, feel free. I don't really do that.
Oh, it opens so many avenues.
I can't try to access the station's systems at all, but I could just try to see if there are any non-station systems that they might be running alongside.
Well, why don't we hold off? Because that could be interpreted quite negatively.
And I
It is.
would
I
rather
think
just
Nyx-
check to see if they exist.
I think Nyx knows that it is harder for an individual person to know that you've been looking into them on the public network than it is for an actual network to be like, oh, we were just attacked. Like someone just tried to attack into us. Like it's like Nyx is suggesting, what if I go try and find the Facebook to start and then move from there? Spacebook. But Facebook.
MySpace. MySpace.
MySpace. Clearly
MySpace.
MySpace.
My Facebook.
Bumble.
So does Valis end at that with like dangerous?
If you clarify, Valis, you know that Valis does not know hardly anything. He can use computers very well, but he does not understand hacking really. So if you explain that, he might have a different answer.
So I'm not suggesting that I try to access their files because I don't even know where their files are. I'm just saying I could look them up and see if there's any profiles that would fit what we're looking for based on what you've said.
Sure, that works.
I think
I have my fallback. If all else fails, talk to the bartender.
Are you just trying to find if there's a Facebook equivalent profile for a person in Bell Tower, or are you like going to use your computer skills to try and like break into accounts and stuff to look in?
I think first she'll look for not just anything that has the name Veltar, but any sort of profiles that seem to have a lot of attention, or that have like just seem to like not fit in with the general like demeanor of the rest of the ship.
There's like a lot of profiles on here that are no longer accessed because this is a like station-based system. So like it's like MySpace, but for just this area. And a lot of these accounts are orphaned or abandoned or dead. Like, and there are some weird ones in there, but you can't really discern anything else without digging a little bit deeper.
And then that little bit deeper would bring the kind of heat that Valis was concerned about.
Yes, it would trigger Valus's concern.
Okay.
Though I've given
can't
you
find-
the go ahead, and I don't understand these things again.
Yeah. Can't find anything on the surface. I can keep looking, but that's where we might start to make enemies. But the good thing about making enemies is then you know where they're at. So I don't know.
I think we're trying to make friends. Alejandro, if you would accompany me to the bar.
Sure. Alejandro does that.
I find the bartender.
Yeah, it's a quite thin, waifish looking woman with a bright red hair that's like up in a very high ponytail that like a Garuda ponytail.
Hey there. We're new to the station, new to the planet, but I was told to look up Bell Tower. That they'd be around here.
She kind of looks around and she says, that's me.
Well, hello there. Very nice to meet you. We were actually looking for work. It's not just me and my friend here. We've got a few others. We've got a ship, multi-skilled kind of thing. Not a huge crew, but very individually specialized. We were looking for higher paying work. As I understand, the long haul cargo and most other good paying work seems to be taken already. Kind of weird.
She nods and says, yeah, I don't really have a lot of high paying work. I need cleaners for the shops.
Yeah.
But if no,
I was looking for
I
more
can
of the
pay
kind.
you
Go ahead.
if you go. I need something from a couple of sectors over, and I need it delivered back here. I could pay you like 20,000 credits if you did that.
How many
It's like
sectors?
well, one and then another one down, so two. So 40 days round trip, provided you can get the thing.
Right.
Oh, it's in pirate space.
Well, we are in pirate space.
We're technically not in pirate space. It's very important if you look at the political maps that we're not in pirate space.
Sure. We're close to pirate space.
Sure, but if you're close to a fire, it's different than when you're in a fire.
That's a valid point. I will think on this, inform my crew. I was hoping for something more in sector, but sounds like paying good. Thanks for your time.
Sure.
I'm Valis if you need anything.
She like looks at you for a moment. She's well, a bell tower, but like I'm just like the person that owns these stores, right? Like I just need you to pick up like a personal item. I'm not going to find more work for you than that.
Right, but we might find other work.
Sure. Okay. You want a drink?
Yeah.
Great. Guess on the house because you seem like you might need one. And she like looks at you and she pours you a drink and a drink for Alejandro.
You would generally be correct about that.
It is a much less viscous brown liquor.
I'm not trying to like eat it with a spoon.
No. What are you gonna do after this?
I'll go over to everybody who's here and say, well, unless Lucira is able to find something else about this station weirdness, I think we're stuck with the Gilnaus jobs. I did find a line on a cargo mission, but it's 40 days, so I feel like even if we're going to do that, there's no way the Gilnaus job's going to take as long. So I'm saying this to everybody except for Lucira, I guess. And Kidren's probably not paying attention.
Yeah, they've sat around you, kid. You can choose how interactive you're going to
Yeah, we just
But
chosen
they have
that table.
brought the 4 of them to your 4-person booth. So there's 5 of you now in this booth.
Kid will not turn off music, but will turn it to a volume to where they can actually hear like words.
I mean, I don't know anything. Do you guys know anything about intelligent growth or black sky? They sound pretty small.
Kid, you can roll bureaucracy, but they are like random subsidiaries of like random subsidiaries. They're like 18 on the family tree away from anything relevant to anything, so it will be very difficult to know it.
I know
I'll-
we're talking about jobs right now,
Yes.
but I will also point out that while talking to the fortune teller, there was an indication that maybe some of the supplies and shipping that is being passed around isn't being done equitably. And I think maybe we could have a piece in remedying that. So I would have a vested interest in staying around.
Well, that's what I hope Lucira is looking into a little bit more. But, I mean, if we can't find anything, we can't find anything.
Kid, you know from kind of the naming of businesses that it's likely that Intelligent Growth is tied to Relix's Instruments, and Black Sky Botanicals is tied to Void Art Collective. Beyond that, they're like you've never heard of them. Even like with the like Green Core history that you haven't heard of them, which kind of means they're probably just small scientific subsidiaries of like other major companies.
Yeah, Kid will kind of just be leaning. You know that thing we know where like the cushion of a booth is slightly bouncy, so they're kind of just letting their back hit against it repeatedly. But oh yeah, the 2 contract jobs on the 2 different places or whatever, they're like the third cousin company, both. Oh, and kind of like looks over at Locust. Pretty sure the people delivering stuff is pirates, but the Empire seems to like them, so they're not stopping them or anything. They left about 15 days ago.
Do we like pirates? I don't think we do.
Did you hear when they'd be back?
They said about a cycle of 40 days.
There's a bounty on pirates, right?
Ella Henry shakes his head at Locust about like, do we like pirates? And he's like, not really. And then turns to Ballas and says, there's definitely a bounty, but like you got to turn it in an Imperial space, and this is not Imperial space.
Tricky. Okay.
And Imperials here seem to also like them. So
did out of game, because it wasn't mentioned when we were talking about it, do these jobs pay the exact same? Are they the exact same job?
They're both that you're making an expression of interest to go and negotiate.
So we have to go talk to these people.
So you have to talk to both of them.
Are they on different planets or different moons?
You can probably have pieced together with all of your different roles that they are 2 research facilities with spaceports on each moon, researching the planet that they circle around.
And presumably competing in some way.
Yes. So are you going to hang around in this bar for much longer, or do you have a...
No. I think I'm going to look at Locust and say, you're the one who kind of wanted to go to Gilnaus for the plant stuff. Do you have should we flip a coin?
Did the flyers indicate the kind of research?
No.
Really? And also they said that they needed you to pick up material off the planet. The research stuff is things that you've pieced together from the various companies.
Makes me feel just a little bit nervous, because it is extractive, and I would feel better talking to both groups.
Okay. We can talk to both. Kid, were you going to say something?
I was going to say we could probably play both. if they're both competing, then we can bargain between the two for the higher price, knowing that if they don't pay what we want, we can just give it to their competitor.
Yeah, that's true. It'll just take a little bit longer. Okay, I'll have Lucira send out the messages.
All right. We
Let
are
me go
edging
find her.
towards the end of the time that we have. By the time that you've had your fortune read multiple times and gone and done these couple of like talking to people, Lucira, you've eaten, and the time that you were given to return has come around.
All right.
And you
I'll
head
head back
back
to the bar.
to Galaxy Gate as the bartender is throwing the two Domino's people out, and by throwing, he's like shepherding at them, and it's like, you just every day, if you don't play the game if neither of you like winning. Like, it's so loud. It's like pushing them out, and they're like going off, and you see that they like their hands snake out and they hold hands on the way off. And he looks at you and says, "Oh, back for another Imperial Stout," and like opens the door.
Yes, sir.
Closes it, and as he closes it, he's like, "The sleeping person's also gone." He closes it, and you hear it lock, and he's like, "How can I help?"
The long haul cargo jobs that my friend mentioned earlier. If you have any other information about that, I would love to know. Or anything else that's not copacetic like it should be on an Imperial outpost.
He nods and gestures you back to your seat in the bar, and he pulls out from underneath the bar like a drawer, and like pulls out a pistol with a silencer on it, and then a data slab. He's like, "Look, all I know is that I've been investigating them. When the prices of things started to fluctuate and get really high for civilians, I reported it to the Empire, and they sent an auditor, and that auditor didn't make it off the station. So, if you have a place to be, it's better that you leave this to me, and I'll complete the investigation, and I'll get enough that they can send like a full clear out team."
All right. Anything you can tell me that's useful for someone more transient like me?
Both the companies that are offering that job, that's legitimate. They can't get anyone to go there. Nobody comes out here anymore that isn't to do with. And he kind of gestures towards the Imperial Center. It's like they've kind of intentionally cut it off so that not a lot of people come through here.
All right. We may take up one of those jobs just to see what's up, but thank you for your time.
He nods and kind of cracks his neck and says, "Well, thank you for ordering the Imperial Stout." Puts the data slab back. He sent you like some files that are like information about his investigation. And he puts the pistol back and hands you another bottle of the Imperial Stout to take with you.
Oh, thanks. I'll knock twice on the bar and then I'll head out.
Sure, he unlocks the door and lets you out.
Yeah. I'll rejoin
And
the
that's
group.
where we're going to cut as you leave. Actually, make me a perception check before we cut.
Oh boy, it's not good. I have a -1.
Lucira gets shot in the back.
Oh,
She's dead.
Yeah,
I thought my perception was bad.
That's how it was getting.
You see nothing.
Yeah, you leave. You hear at the like edge of your perception a click of the lock, and then you head back to the ship where everybody else is kind of
Great.
headed as well. There's not really places for you to stay on the station, so you're going to sleep on your ship. So, and that's where we will end this week's session. Thank you all for playing. I hope you all enjoyed it. Anyone that watched, thank you for watching. You can follow us on Twitch, subscribe if you have Prime, or if you don't and just want to subscribe because we are great content. Subscribe to us on YouTube. I think I should say things like click that bell based on other YouTube things, but I don't think that matters.
Nah.
Leave a like, drop a
Yeah,
comment.
give us a comment. You got to help us with our algorithm to get up there. Like, these are all things
Smash
that
that
YouTubers say.
subscribe.
Don't smash that subscribe.
All about the
That's-
algo on this
Yeah.
channel. That's what we care about.
Yeah. We will be back next week with
Yep.
most of the crew, and we'll
That's it.
see what happens.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.